Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGM eCast for your Tuesday night. Sorry, we're running a little bit late there. Just trying to get a couple of other bits and pieces set up in the background. We weren't quite able to get that done, but we're off and running again now. We jumped into qualifying here for Pass 2. So we've got a 30-minute race coming your way, the first of our GT rounds, and we are going to have both the AUSPROAM Sim Series coming up after this. We'll catch the end of qualifying after our 30-minute race, but before we get there, we've got the 30-minute race to get on with here, and we just joined us at qualifying. So I have got Carl with me in the combox. Carl, good evening.
Good evening, Stuart. Good evening, everybody. And yes, we are here at Sebring, of course, an absolute classic of a track.
So I'm hoping we've got everything set up right here. It looks like we have, so we'll just hopefully, if there's anything wrong in the stream, let us know. You jump into the chat there, and particularly the sound is what I'm interested in. Looks like we might have a double-up issue again, like we might have been suffering from last week, but I think I've got it cured, so do let us know. Other than that, Carl, how are you tonight?
Yes, everything sounds semi-okay from what I could hear, so
Fantastic.
Hopefully things are working well. So yeah, hopefully it looks like we've got pictures and audio as well, which is always useful.
Always helps to have both of those things working. So we should have the cars, we should have the noise, the ambience, the atmosphere, everything going on that we want to have going on here on FGM eCast as we venture into this new world of these back-to-back streams or running full race weekends, which we like. So I was just saying earlier on when I was talking to myself that we've got 10 minutes qualifying here. So we're at the amazing, awesome, one of my favourite tracks, Sebring, which is an old Air Force base. I'm sure at some stage Carl will have a couple of trivia questions for us about this place. But we are at Sebring. It is known for the 12-hour event that gets hosted here with on iRacing and in the real world as well. I think it's a little early in the year. I can't actually remember the date of it, to be brutally honest, but famous for endurance motor racing, and it's a fantastic track. I absolutely love this place.
Yeah, Sebring 12-hour is... my brain is working now. I'm having to think about it. The trouble with just coming into the house and things like that. I believe it's towards the end of the year, though, isn't it? It's definitely...
I know it's in our hotter season. I remember running it,
yeah.
And it was extremely warm in the house at the time. But yeah, it may even be in the coming month normally. But of course, the whole racing calendar globally is a mess because of COVID. So hopefully that is coming to its end. So just having a look here at John Baldwin. So he is currently fastest on track, but only because he was out on track first. So he's on his way towards completing a flying lap. He's just about to make his way around through the flip-flop, and then he run wide here and head onto the back straight. So a tricky corner, this one coming up here as well, but we will do a traditional lap on board with somebody in just a moment. We'll let Carl get his bearings and get himself all settled in the chair before we get on board with that. But let's start getting our first flying laps coming through.
It's March for 12 hours. I don't know what I'm thinking. End of the year. No, it's early in the year. It is March.
Right, well, that explains why it was hot, because of course March in Melbourne is generally still quite warm.
It does get quite hot in March. I have found that in Australia. That's the month that I actually landed in Australia. When I first came here, and I left England and it was snowing, and I landed here and it was about 39 degrees. So it was a big culture shock.
As it would be. That would be a big change for you. So we've got the jump on board now. If you're ready, Carl, we might jump on board with Nathan Varney in the Locked On Lads Audi. Looking very, very good. He's going to get a little bit of the benefit of the draft here on his lap round. We're just heading down towards the slow right-hander. So we might try and stick on, if he completes a full lap, of course, we might try and stick on board with Nathan and let him take us on a lap around this fantastic track.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I was just trying to actually pull it up on my screen, which I don't have at the moment, which is just awkward.
Oh, that's all right.
Just trying to find them in the list of drivers. We've got so many drivers out there, just spotting the driver's name is the trickiest part, in all honesty, at the moment, which is a great problem to have. So, whereabouts are we on track at the moment?
So we're just coming back towards the second of the slow right-handers. So now he's going to head down here and head down towards the left-hander before the second quick left-hander. We will then head and take a fair bit of the corner if he does, and he does so there before we head down to the back straight.
Okay, beautiful.
So we'll just wait a sec. Hopefully he's going to continue around for another lap. He's got time to. The track here, a couple of the things, particularly down into this section here, which Carl will talk about, it gets quite bumpy. It's difficult to get the car braking turned in, and it's a double apex right-hander, so we'll look out for that. But it's one of the characteristics of this track being what it is quite bumpy. So these cars, particularly in talking to some of the drivers before the stream, the low downforce package that they're running is going to make it a little bit difficult. Carl, I'll let you take over the lap.
Indeed, so coming into the first corner here, sweeping left-hander. It is a tricky corner to master, but if you get it right, it's perfect. It's a very wide entry into there, and you can see those ever-shadowing barriers on the outside. Turn 2 is absolutely nothing, but we're going to come down to turn 3 now, that left-hander, take a nice bit of corner in there, go across the concrete, onto asphalt, back onto concrete, back onto asphalt. This is the tricky part of the track. This is where you can lose a lot of time, these left and right-handers. Now towards Big Bend, turn number 6, we sweep down towards the hairpin of turn number 7, a nice long straight section here, well, straight-ish, as straight as you can get at Sebring, down towards the hairpin of turn 7, right-hander late on the brakes, want to try and catch a little bit of that curb on the inside, straight line it out of here, of course, up towards Fangio, turns 8 and 9, get through this section up to Cunningham, turn 10, which will be at the end of this little bit of a bend here. So take a bit of a breath into turn 10, the right-hander on the brakes, back onto the concrete, getting through this corner now, then into the left-hander of Collier, down towards the tower, the tower right-hander of turn number 13, and that's going to take us onto the long straight of the Bishop Straight area. That little corner, turn 14, which is just this little flick of the car here, this little flick to the left. As we come right down the big long straight section once more, there's a bit of a kink here with 15 that turns in towards turn 16 shortly. And again, you get a nice little bit of a straight down towards the big final corner, which runs you on to the start-finish line. And it is a very tricky track to master, Sebring. It's one of those tracks that, because there's so many different types of grippy material, you're driving on asphalt, you're driving on concrete, it can throw you out. You're going into different corners, they have different types of material, and it is one of those tracks that will catch you out. Getting back onto the concrete here, and you do tend to lose a little bit of grip, and it is very easy to drift the car wide and catch that grass on the exit. Good lap there from Nathan Varney.
Yeah, absolutely, into P5, so Varney doing a good job there to get that done. So we keep an eye on the Locked On guys, of course. We always spruik the Locked On Racing podcast, so if you are looking to keep up to date with all of your iRacing news from throughout the week, including a summary of this series and Anne's car and a number of the series that are run across the country, the guys on Locked On are the place to keep up with that information and listen to some pretty cool interviews and stuff as well. So we've got a minute to go here. At the moment, it is Michael Rosenblatt who is in P1 provisional pole position. He's got Brett Barker right behind him with Peter Hunter in third. Co-commentator Scotty Rankin currently sitting in fourth position and Varney in fifth. So a good run here for them. The drivers who are going to still get through their lap. In fact, the majority of the drivers out on track at the moment will get through their lap. We've got, looks like 15, 16, 17 starters. And as you said, there are a large number of people observing this race. So I can't actually tell exactly how many we're going to have starting tonight, but a really good field for the debut of Pass 2 in the GT format. Of course, this is why the drivers are here. Enjoy the wildcard rounds, but these are the cars they're wanting to get in and get running with. So who's going to come across the line at the end here? Peter Hunter is out still on a flying lap. He's going to get that done. We'll jump on board with him as he comes down the back straight here. Watch the bump on the entrance, and you've got to make sure you clear that wall. Be gentle on the throttle on the exit here. You can see how bumpy it is there. The Porsche just jumping all over the place. He managed to control that well and get a good exit. How's this lap time going to be for him? Is he going to improve on his 0257? Waiting for it to update there. It's keeping us in suspense. And no, I would say he has not. So Scotty Rankin, he may get around to complete his lap. And he move up a position. He's halfway through the lap now. Nathan Varney's just finished his last flying lap. And unfortunately no improvement there for Varney. Blake Urquhart the same, Matt Stewart likewise not able to improve on his effort. Ben Pollock did move up into P14 with his last lap out, and Shane Mahoney into 15th. So we'll stick on board here with Scotty, the last driver, out competing for a lap. No pressure on him at all.
No commentators' curses on there.
Not at all. You know we're not licensed to hand those out.
It does help now that I've actually joined the correct session, so that means I can actually find the correct drivers. So,
of course, that old trick. Yes, the Pro-Am boys in their practice session at the moment while we're here live with these ones as well. So we will be able to switch over to that after the interviews or during the interviews after this race. So how does Scotty Rankin go? Not looking like he's going to improve yet. He's got a good lap there with the 202.5. How does he go? Crosses the start-finish line. Looks like he may have, just gone slightly slower. So a 202.62 is qualifying lap. So that will be all she wrote. We're just going to wait for the session to switch over here. And we will then get into it for the race.
Yes. It should be a good race here. Sebring, of course, always a good place for GT cars. And as you said, one of the things I didn't mention in that track guide was the bumpiness of this track. It is an incredibly bumpy circuit. You would not really want to be racing a single-seater here because your back would probably just explode after about 4 laps of it. So you do need something with a little bit of suspension. And believe it or not, these GT3 cars do have suspension. It might not look like it, but they do have a little bit.
Yeah, it's an incredibly tricky place. You can definitely get caught out with the bumps, particularly on throttle. You've got to be really careful how you exit the corner to make sure you don't light it up and rotate the car. And some of the curbs as well are particularly aggressive through that first flip-flop section. If you get too hard on the curb, it'll throw you off the track, or it'll actually grab the car and it'll beach it. So you'll end up just spun around on the inside. So there's a lot for the drivers to watch out on. Turn 1, particularly, obviously rolling start here. If you haven't joined us before and you're not too familiar with GT racing, it will be a rolling start. And that turn 1 can catch people out on cold tyres as well. So that's going to be something that the drivers are going to need to look out for as we get this one underway. Let's have a quick look at the grid here for round 2 of the AUSPROAM Sim Series Pass 2, and it is Brett Barker, my apologies, takes out pole position with Peter Hunter next to him. Then it's Scotty Rankin and Nathan Verney off row 2 with Sebastian Vandel and Gordon Smith off row 3. Then it's Hendrik Krasinga with Blake Urquhart off row 4, Matty Stewart and John Baldwin off row 5. Then it's Michael Rosenblatt and Andrew Goldman off row 6. As we flip over the page, it's going to be Nick Warnest and Shane Mahoney off 7. Ben Pollock and Sam Lehman off 8. In fact, I don't believe Sam will be running, so it would be Rodney Hobbs and Adam Whalen off row 9, Nick Buxton and Jason Dunn off row 10, and then we do have a couple of other drivers in there just observing. So apologies if you aren't racing. We'll have to get that fixed up for next week, but for now, does not matter at all. So we're going to go around on our warm-up lap and get that into the mindset. It is a 30-minute race here tonight, so we've got that to come, and it's going to be an interesting one to see. I'm not sure what to expect, Carl. We haven't called too many of these drivers, so it's going to be interesting. Obviously, last week, a completely different set of circumstances in the Radical, so we'll have to wait and see, I guess, to see how these guys handle running together in a pack for the first time. We've got pretty much everyone here. John Baldwin is from the main series last season, so he's dropped down into this one. So watch out for him. He'll be incredibly quick, and the competition is going to be fierce at the front. We're going to do a full warm-up lap here behind the pace car. It'll pull off, and then we'll get racing.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of new names, which is going to make things ever so hard as we mispronounce them as well, which we do apologise about it in advance. But there's a lot of drivers that we haven't necessarily seen out there before. A few drivers that we do know, and it's just getting the right names, the right people in the right places. So getting that all done. So it looks like Rosenblatt doesn't take the start, so. It's going to be Brett Barker from the front. as we go green here at Sebring for the second pass two. The first one with GT cars, though, and Brett Barker does get away very well with Scotty Rankin just behind him, moving his way up into P2.
Yeah, so we'll just keep a static camera look here and just make sure everyone gets through turn one.
Scotty Rankin goes, manages to save the car. Just a little bit of oversteer on the exit. The back end steps out, gets tagged by, I think it was Peter Hunter there. But he's managed to get the car going back straight again, so somehow managed to save that one. That could have been a big accident.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time to recover with the damage minerals. There's a couple down there again, out on the inside as well. I think that might have been Ben Pollock who went off on the infield there at turn 3. So there's a few drivers just learning early about the cold tyres here on this mixed surface that Sebring provides us. It's one of the challenges, and it's already caught a couple of drivers out early, but with 30 minutes of racing, one stop required, there's plenty of time to get done what you need to get done and potentially get back up into a fight for position.
Yeah, Ben Pollock and Rodney Hobbs both doing the same thing. It was almost like they were mirroring each other. They both just got a huge amount of oversteer out of nowhere. Cold tyres, as you said, catching both of those drivers out. I think the second could have just been in slight avoidance of the accident. But unfortunately, both cars getting caught out with that one as we are coming round to almost finish our first lap. It is a fairly big old lap around Sebring, of course. It's one of those tracks that you think isn't that long when you look at it on paper, and then you realise it's almost 6 kilometres in length. It is a huge place. Absolute fantastic track, and you do get some great racing here. Big thing is going to be on the fuel stops as well, strategy-wise. So will we see some people coming in early on the first lap to try and get themselves out of traffic to see if they can make it to the end?
Yeah, the old Jeff Connell strategy. See who can run the longest. But of course, they will be able to take on an uncapped amount of fuel on the refuel. So someone I think I heard just struggling in the background there.
Accident in the final corner there.
Looks like Matt Stewart, I think, might have gone around.
I think that's right. No, sorry, it was Matt Stewart. He's gone around in the final corner, just lost the tail as he was trying to get underneath the 135 of
John Baldwin there.
John Baldwin, and they just tag each other and around he goes. Nathan Verney just avoiding that incident there, so Verney just getting very lucky to avoid that accident, but that is some damage that's going to be jumping in, getting the fuel, getting a quick repair done. Yeah,
absolutely. They do have access to one quick repair here, the drivers each, so he will absolutely capitalise on that quick repair and get back out there as well. As you see here, Jason Dunn also having an issue. Just trying to catch onto that one as he recovers the Mclaren. Let's just jump back quickly and have a look at this one. I think he might have grabbed the curb, which we did warn against in the preamble to the show. No, in fact, he's gone the other way. He's just grabbed a little bit too much of the dirt on the outside of the track there, and fairly innocent there in the Ram-sponsored entry. Just gets that one back on board and back on track, so he will fight to live another day in an undamaged McLaren.
Yeah, that's the important thing, undamaged. It means you can get a bit of a recovery drive going, start working your way up through the field. There are a few damaged cars out there, quite a few cars with some bent noses. So a few of those first laps incidents catching a couple of people out. Meanwhile, up the front, Brett Barker is doing a great job against Sebastian Vardell, keeping Seb off his tail. And this place has been quite kind to Seb's in the past. So he's going to be hoping, Vardell that is, that again, a Seb can be on the top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly will be. A good pick up there. The good thing so far as well to see, I'm loving having the McLaren back in the series, the Audi joining it as well. The mix, obviously last season we were restricted to 3 makes, and this season we've got a much more open allotment of cars with the new Ferrari joining the mix in amongst the Porsche returning, McLaren, Audi, and we've also got the Mercedes and the Beamer, so a good assortment of cars. We've only got surprisingly 1 Beamer in Pass 2 and 1 Mercedes. Everyone else looking for the Audi, Ferrari, Porsche or Lamborghini, so we'll see if any of those drivers can get an upset. Apparently in the downforce tonight, a couple of it felt like there was some favouritism towards 2 of the makes, neither of which are leading.
Well, if it was a Porsche, then that's just because it's Sebring and it's a Porsche. I mean, it's just natural for a Porsche to do well at Sebring. That's just its natural hunting ground.
It's its habitat.
Yeah, that's it. It's as if it was purpose built for them. They do like it around here. Ferraris quite like the place too. So at the moment, Sebastian Vettel is looking to try and get a Ferrari up there with Blake Urquhart as well. So the Ferraris, Gordon Smith as well in fourth, I should say. So at the moment, we've got a Lamborghini in the lead. Not had a great history here at Sebring, but these things can change. Statistics do not mean that you're going to lose a race just because you're in a certain make of car, and we know that Lamborghini has got some legs on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And not hamstrung by the weight penalties that we saw last season. Of course, the penalties or the success penalties that these cars incur each week and are adjusted each week this year or this season being done by a penalty to the power of the vehicle. So that it didn't alter the way the car handled throughout the season. So Lamborghini last season around, because of its success, basically was carrying a Lamborghini tractor by the end of the season in additional ballast, and it just changed the way the car drove. So the administrators changing that up for this season, which is good to see, as we're just seeing here Varnell just sticking a nose out there, seeing if he could get anything done. Brett Barkey wasn't quite far enough up, even in the draft, looking to have another look here. He's got to run on. He's going to go down underneath on the brakes, and he's going to get the move done. So Varnell, nice move there, very cleanly done, down into turn 2 and moves himself up into P1.
Very nice move indeed. So very well worked there, and getting himself the lead of the race. And look, it's going to be a good battle tonight. This place breeds fighting. It's a very flat track, of course. It's a former airfield, but that means you get some really good exits. You don't have to worry about the course going up and down. It's all about keeping the eye on the corners. If you get that corner exit right, there are so many fast sections of this track you can get a really good tow and make the person in front of you pay. Same is for those corners, because there are so many tricky corner sets here. There are so many corners that go into each other. If you make one mistake, you're going to lose yourself so much time through those sections.
Yeah, of course. The run onto the back straight, really important. The run out of the final corner, really important. A lot of lap time to be made up on both of those sections, and even down towards turn 4. So those straights really important in generating pace, as is trail braking here, a very, very important factor, particularly through the slalom, or the not really bus stops, but through the slalom or bus stop sections of the track. Your ability to trail brake into those corners is really, really important in generating lap speed. So the drivers will have been practicing that. I jumped into the practice before we started tonight, and I think there was 42 drivers in the practice session pre-race. So that's a huge number of drivers. A very popular track, obviously, but just wanting to make sure they can polish up on those laps before we get into things tonight.
Yeah, that's it. It's practice is perfect around tracks like this. It's one of those tracks that it's so technical that you do need to practice that a little bit, and you just need to reacquaint yourself with the track. And as I said, it's so different because of the surface changes as well.
Yep.
When you're going between those surfaces every lap, it's almost like you're driving on a different track, and it really can throw you out.
Yeah, 100%. So just having a quick look back through the field here, John Baldwin and Nathan Varney battling away. Scotty Rankin's resurgence throughout the field continues. He's putting a lot of pressure on the back of Matt Stewart, and just runs a little wide there, so he'll recover that one as he does. Easy enough to do there. The bump in the braking zone will catch you out if you're not absolutely millimetre perfect, but no harm done there for Scotty. He's on the back again of Ben Pollock, so he'll be pursuing him for another lap, where it is McLaren versus McLaren, and as we go a little bit further back down the field.
Just behind Matt Stewart. Actually, Stewart's just taken his pit stop. So this gives you an idea where Scotty Rankin sits. We saw Stewart was up there with the top 5. So Scotty Rankin is making that early pit stop pay off for him at the moment. Obviously, probably wouldn't have wanted to come in that early, but it is working out because he's going to come when everybody else comes in for a pit stop. Obviously, they'll have a little bit less time to stay stationary, but he has made some good time up after that early mistake as well. So able to get some good times out on the track and work his way up the field a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, up the front, we've got a great battle forming behind Blake Urquhart with Peter Hunter and Gordon Smith. So there is a train forming up at the moment, and they are looking to try and get through. And got to say, at the moment, Blake Urquhart might just be going a little bit slower than the guys behind him want to be. Maybe just doing a little bit of fuel saving, just trying to get a little bit longer in the stint, whereas the others are just trying to go a little bit faster. You can see Peter Hunter has got that damage to the front of that Porsche. It doesn't look very Porsche-like with that front end bent in like that, but it is still going well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got caught up, unfortunately, in that early incident in the race. We're 10 minutes through, a third of the way through the race so far. Then had 2 people jump in through pit lane. My apologies, 4 people jump in through pit lane. First of whom is Matt Stewart back in P10 at the moment. So we're waiting to see how they come out. Looks like Shane Maloney might have had an issue there. And he has gone into pit lane, so he'll be getting his fast repair done, and we'll get back out with his stop. But at the moment, it is Sebastian Vettel who is coming under pressure still now from Brett Barker. Of course, Vettel did take the lead from Barker a few laps ago now. So he's just maintaining that gap. It's just under half a second here between the two. And who is going to take out this race? Well, third of the way through as Hunter and Urquhart just start changing places behind them as well. There's just a jump about there. You can see that going on in the background. I want to cover as much of this as we can. But it is Vardell still leading from Barker. Urquhart here under pressure from Peter Hunter. That damage on the front of the Porsche. Obviously not upsetting it too much, particularly while he's in the draft. Might have pay a small impact on the straights once he does get up and going. If he does manage to get in front of Urquhart, that will remain to be seen.
Really pushing it. They're so close to each other as they go through 15 and 16 through the Le Mans corners. Back onto the Olin straight. Really close action there. That Porsche could not get any closer if it tried for Peter Hunter. Really good driving there from all of these guys up at the front.
I've just been corrected here. The old Dwade's just saying it's actually Verney and not Varney. Apologies for that. I can understand the mistake. So, but we are on board here with Peter Hunter. Is he going to have a look down the inside into turn 1? He has. He's stuck the nose down there and gets the move done nicely. And looks like as well that Gordon Smith's tried to go through. And he has got it done as well. So, triple change there.
Meanwhile,
30 minutes in.
Batman Nathan Verney is all over the back of John Baldwin at the moment. So the locked-on car has got its sights locked onto the back of John Baldwin at the moment and is trying to push his way through. So really putting on the pressure, just lifting off a little bit at the end of the straight there. So not wanting to make the move into this section, just thinking about it. Probably going to be looking to make the pass on a bit of a more reliable straight section of the track. Probably looking to maybe do it on the Ormond straight. Just thinking about it at the moment. Still a bit of a gap between the two cars, but Verney all over the back at the moment.
Yeah, Bolton handling the pressure though. So this battle will continue. Looks like Nick wants to have an issue.
Just mention as well, Jason Dunn unfortunately out of the race relatively early. Just had a big snap of oversteer into the first corner and lost it into the barriers. So out of the race early there, if you're wondering what happened to Jason Dunn, unfortunately.
I need to get new glasses, Carl. I'm struggling to see what's going on here tonight, but
big moment as well down the pack a little bit. Shane Mahoney and Nick Vanhurst getting into each other. Mahoney's just gone onto the dirt and bumped in straight into Vanhurst. Into Nick Vanhurst, and that's just a big accident there. Unfortunate passenger for the Porsche driver there. Really unfortunate incident there between those two.
Yeah, just bringing up on screen now to have a look at it here. And he's just gone around into turn 1. So was it at the end of this that has happened? No, that's
that may have been a
separate incident, I believe. Yeah, just a separate incident there. So once they're just struggling a little bit on the back of that incident as well. So Blake Urquhart, Nathan Verney in pit lane. So you can see here Urquhart on his way back out. Looks like he's going to join in front of Ben Pollock. Ben yet to make his stop. So that is for position outright. Gordon Smith, he is yet to stop as well. We've got the 6 cars at the front of the field at the moment. Vandell, Barker, Hunter, Baldwin, Smith and Buxton not having made their stops yet. So Urquhart is the first driver who has completed his stop, currently sitting in P7.
We'll see it. Urquhart are getting relatively good positioning out of that. Nice clean track in front of them, so that's going to help them out a bit. So could get a nice run right here. Nathan Verney, sorry, oh, accents. Nathan Verney having a good run as well, up into 9th, just behind Ben Pollock. So Verney trying to get this one working, and currently sitting 3rd in line of cars that has made a pit stop. Sorry, 2nd in line of cars that have made a pit stop. So getting some nice clean air, hopefully soon.
Yeah, you want to get out
just
from
has to
behind Pollock, won't he?
That's it, just has to get past Pollock now to make this work.
Brett Barker's just jumped into pit lane, so be expecting these guys won't make it too many more laps on the current tank of fuel before they have to jump into pit lane. So by the 20-minute mark, we expect them all to have made that final stop, unless they've been aggressively fuel saving, as Barker, Baldwin and Smith jump into pit lane. So Nick Buxton choosing to stay out there. So Vandell, Hunter and Buxton now the 3 remaining who have not jumped into pit lane in order.
So 13 minutes remaining of the race, so still plenty of time. That's going to be about 6 or so laps here at Sebring. So still a few laps to make things work, to make the magic happen tonight. And still a few laps to make a mistake as well. And that's going to be the crucial one, is not making a mistake, keeping that car nice and clean and keeping it running in a straight line as well. Not a pure straight line, of course, but keeping it on the track. That's going to be crucial for tonight, and that's going to be the thing that's going to earn one of these drivers a win here tonight.
Yeah, certainly not wanting to just drive straight ahead. It is not conducive to good racing.
Unless you're drag racing, of course.
Well, unless you're drag racing, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian Vandell still leading this race, so he is still running, or trying to run as far away as he can. Peter Hunter and Buxton to pit, so Brett Barker in the Lamborghini, can he get the undercut done, having pit a little earlier and getting some free air. Just to have a look at where he is on the track there. You can see him highlighted on the map on the right hand side of the screen as you look at it. In fact, I've grabbed the wrong car there. You can now see that. So that is where he is. Of course, the gap to the race leader is the number 1 on the screen. So the gap not insurmountable, but of course, as Vandell comes into pit lane, we'll stick on board here with Barker and see if he can get it done. Buxton now the only driver not to have pit. I assume he's going to come in this lap. Shouldn't be able to make it too much further. And we're wanting to see whether or not Barker can get it done. The gap between the two at the pit stop was only half a second. So has he managed to make that up with the clean air he's got in front of him? The Lamborghini undamaged, so he's got its full potential available to him as he comes around onto the front straight now. Where is he going to come out? Vandell is on his way out of pit lane as we speak, so this is going to be a close exit here.
Peter Hunter gets the jump in pit lane. It's going to be Peter Hunter and the Porsche coming out. It's going to be so close as they get through the first corner side by side. But Brett Barker does take the lead by the narrowest of margins. Peter Hunter has jumped up to P2 with Sebastian Vandell in P3.
There you go. He's just run deep under brakes there, Barker. So he's run wide. He's had to pull the Lamborghini up. That's opened up the opportunity for Peter Hunter, who of course has had his Porsche repaired in that pit stop. They put a new front splitter onto it, and he is back with a fully repaired Porsche to attack for the last 10 minutes of this race. He's looking for a way around. The Lamborghini of Barker is wide and he's defending, and you can just see there as well Vandel just trying to get underneath as well with Hunter pushing the point. He knows he's got the pace if he needs it to run at the front here. He's already got past Brett Barker once tonight, so we've got a great battle here between the brands like Lamborghini, Porsche and Ferrari. Who is going to take this out?
It's going to be really close up here at the front. This is great racing we're seeing. We're seeing 3 different manufacturers there as well, which is even more fun. It's something... sorry, just the 2 manufacturers, sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, Lamborghini,
so,
Porsche and
it's
Ferrari at the front here. Yeah,
yes.
Lambo, Porsche and Ferrari. So it is the battle. The Italians and the Germans. As they battle away at the front, but Barker doing a good job here defending. Of course, none of them will have taken tyres, so it is down to a battle of driver now. There isn't anyone on fresh rubber. Of course, you might say that Barker had it a little bit his way because he was able to run in without battling anyone for a couple of laps there in the crossover the pits, and it certainly worked in his favour.
Yeah, very much so. You'd say battle of the Italian and the 2 Germans, maybe.
Well, absolutely. And the other question to answer, of course, as well is how did Peter Hunter make up that time in pit lane? Was it efficiency of his entry, or did he take slightly less fuel than the other 2, and will he make it to the end?
Yeah, so he was stationary for 9.6 seconds, whereas Vandel was stationary for 13.4. Brett Baker 10.9, but they are battling side by side here through the first set of corners, side by side once again, and the Porsche looks to have it right now. Gonna make the move, still trying just a little bit, possibly touching just there, but makes it through there. Peter Hunter getting at the lead of the race over Brett Barker. Sebastian Vandel just sitting right behind him at the moment in that Ferrari, trying his best to get up back into P2 at the moment. Battle is absolutely on, but what you could ask is, did Peter Hunter put enough fuel in there? Did he time this right? Did he fuel it perfectly? Or does he have to do a little bit of lift and coasting towards the end just to make it across the line as Vandel gets underneath Barker there and makes the move for P2?
Yeah, he got it done pretty cleanly in the end there, just running a little bit wide again, Barker in the Lambo.
Meanwhile, jumping back, John Baldwin, Nathan Verney having a battle. Verney trying to make it down the outside, can't quite make it work this time. I'm sure Braden Martin will be cheering along somewhere. But those 2 absolutely fighting for position at the moment. Verney in P6 trying to jump up to P5 at the moment and has got pace on Baldwin.
Yeah, so that battle continues. It's looking a little bit further down the list. Matt Stewart and Scotty Rankin has settled down a little bit, but at the front the gap has narrowed as well. So the Ferrari of Vandel and the Porsche Peter Hunter now battling away at front. Can the Lamborghini do anything? Is Brett Barker going to be able to mount a challenge here? He's going to get the benefit of the draft. Might not get close enough yet, but will the Ferrari be able to do anything? He's having a look. He's having a big look down the inside here. It's got to have a lot more up. Oh, he's run a little bit wide here. That could be to get the turn back. No, it's slowed the Ferrari. He's just slid a little bit there. That's allowed the Lamborghini to close up, and the Porsche with Peter Hunter at the front to open the gap ever so slightly and give himself a little bit of a breather as he goes down into turn 1. He won't have to defend here. He can run the line that he wants to run. Just make sure he pulls it up, gets it through the corner, which he does very neatly indeed.
The tiniest kick of dirt there, perfect line for Hunter, just absolutely millimetre perfect on that corner. That's great to see. But these guys all racing as well. It's so close to each other. There's absolutely nothing between them, but just the slightest mistake and you're going to lose 2 positions right now.
Yeah, the pressure is on at the front. Lamborghini looking for a way by. Barker not quite able to find it yet.
And meanwhile, just a little bit further back, John Baldwin has become a little bit of a cork in the bottle in the McLaren at the moment. Nathan Verney just behind him with Gordon Smith sitting in just behind him. Matt Stewart and Scotty Rankin gaining on this battle. So this one is one to watch out as one of those cars goes a little bit wide, and that's Adam Whalen just letting them through. Just letting through those cars as they go lap down.
Good driving there from him to be aware of what was going on around him. Yeah, Baldwin here just not able to find a way past him. And you're not faster than the driver in front of you until you get past him. So Baldwin defending well in P5. And Vernie's got to have a look around and see if he can find a way through. Otherwise, he's going to be at one eye on the car in front, one eye in the mirror, trying to manage Gordon Smith behind him. He's got to get a good run out of this final corner before the back straight, and I think that's going to be his chance then. Got plenty of run wide room down into the final double apex corner, so it gives you that opportunity to push a little bit harder with a reassurance that you're probably going to be able to get out of it safely if it goes wrong. But immediately Baldwin on the defensive here, but the Audi pulls out. Nathan Varney alongside him, so he's going to have to use that extra room we were talking about here to shove the Audi around the outside if he's going to be able to get it done. He's exposed here. The Ferrari of Gordon Smith tries to go underneath him as he's right out wide. He's going to get a good run. He just avoids the grass, does Vernie, so he's going to keep in the drag race here and get him behind John Baldwin. That'll help pull him along and maybe protect that position, but he's got the best line he can have for turn one. It's going to put Smith on the outside. He's going to have to be brave. He gets out into the dirt there, and that is going to cost him. It's going to cost him dearly. It's going to cost him very dearly as he's gone around, clipped the tyre wall there. It was a brave move. Just didn't quite pay off for him.
No, look, that was one of those moments. Just tried to keep it going and just did not work out, unfortunately. There's a big bump there as you go across, just across the recovery road, and that's what absolutely threw that Ferrari off centre, and then around he goes. So that is a disaster for, absolute disaster for Gordon Smith.
Up the front here, Sebastian Vandel now under pressure from Brett Baker. Peter Hunter's checked out at the front to some extent. He's now broken the draft. He's over a second in front of these pairs, so he should be able to move away here. And at this stage, looks like there will probably only be one more lap to go at the end of this one. So he should get the white flag next time around. So can Brett Baker do anything to repay the favour and get in front of Vandel, who's passed him twice tonight? You want to square that ledger at the most important part of the evening. A good run onto the back straight here for the Lamborghini. Vandel's going to have to go defensive. Seen before how it was done when we were on board with John Baldwin, who did so successfully against Nathan Verney. You can see the Ferrari doing exactly the same thing here. And Brett Baker just deciding that he wants to live to fight another day at this point in time. So he gets around. We will have one more lap on top of this one. It'll be white flag next time around. So he's got 2 laps to try and get something done here, as Peter Hunter just opens that gap again ever so slightly as we start this lap.
Be the disaster for Peter Hunter if he took on fuel thinking there's only going to be another lap, and if he crossed the line a couple of milliseconds later, he would have only had one more lap to do. So it's an extra lap right now, and this could fall into the hands of Sebastian Vandel, who was stationary the longest. So that could be an interesting one. We'll see how that one runs out, and it looks like Vandel is just easing off a little bit. So just easing off. He's definitely lost pace there. Did they make a bit of a mistake? Or they just battling? No, it just looks like they've just eased off a little bit from Peter Hunter. Just a little bit more than they were before, possibly just to do a little bit of saving, because I don't think they were expecting this extra lap.
We're on board now with Sebastian Vandel, so we're just going to have a listen. We'll see if he is saving fuel or not. I know, particularly coming up in some of these heavier braking sections. At this stage, he hasn't quite got the luxury of saving fuel either, because of course he's got Brett Baker right behind him. So the one who it's going to play out for well is Hunter, who may have slightly underfueled as well. So with that advantage that he's got, no pressure to defend at this point in time, he is potentially going to be able to help himself out as we head towards the back straight, and we'll then get on to our final lap of this race. Oh, as the Lambo gets loose in the background there, Barker, so that's going to affect his chance on this lap. He's going to be way too far away to do anything about it. So he's going to have to try something on the last lap, if at all.
Last lap special possibly coming up. You can see down the field, though, Vernie all over the back of Baldwin at the moment. Absolutely beautiful colours on John Baldwin's car. Not to diminish anything from the Locked On crew's pink, purple and blue, but I'm a fan of the gold and black liveries from the past. Can't quite make it this time around. John Baldwin just sitting that car perfectly in position. So just keeping in a really nice position there and doing a good job of defending.
He's driven a cracking race, John Baldwin. So we've got on board here with Vernie. He's going to try down the inside, jump out and have a look. Is he going to be able to hold it in there in the Audi? Baldwin confident in his approach into the corner in the McLaren. Just keeps on moving on through there. So he will go another lap here. The final lap of the race to try and defend his position. Meanwhile, we jump back up to the front and things have spaced out a little bit now as Peter Hunter has got some breathing room behind him. Sebastian Vardell coming through with Brett Barker as well. So that is our top three. As it stands, there is a question mark over these three on fuel, particularly on Peter Hunter at the front.
Oh, car's just gone off in front of Peter Hunter. Just manages to skate through, keeps it on the grass. Good job there. As they were getting past the lapped guy, just ran a little bit wide and decided to keep it on the grass rather than pull it back on the track. Good idea there.
Yeah, I think that might have been Rodney Hobbs there, so well done Hobbo to get that and keep that one on the grass. But it does look like Peter Hunter will be the first GT winner in the past two series. We'll go down in the record books in the number 82 Porsche entry. So he heads down the back straight for the final time. Did Barker get a good enough exit on the corner to do anything in challenging for P2? Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough. He's going to have to hope for a mistake from Vardell into the last corners as he runs a little bit wide, but nothing too savage there that the Ferrari can't handle. And it will be Peter Hunter taking out the win here in pass two at Sebring, round two.
Meanwhile, jumping back to John Baldwin and Vernie, they are side by side once more. Baldwin keeping the inside there. Vernie can't quite make it round. Will he get the pass here? Gets a good exit. Really trying for it, but nothing Vernie can do right there. Absolutely trying to the end. Great battle. Meanwhile, Scotty Rankin tries to make the move and does.
Matty Stewart.
Gets past Matty Stewart, who runs out of fuel.
Runs out of fuel. So Scotty Rankin pinches a position at the end there. We knew the fuel numbers were going to be close. In fact, I think Peter Hunter may be out of fuel as well because he has already jumped out. So Peter Hunter, Scott Vardell and Brett Barker, your podium for this race tonight. And a fantastically well-run race it was. It does look like he might be out of fuel as well. So
good drive from Nick Buxton, making up 8 positions in that race, biggest gainer of the race. So finishing in the top 10, so managing to finish in P10 in the end. So well done on Nick Buxton, making up 8 positions in that race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a good effort indeed.
But unsurprisingly, here at Sebring, we see a Porsche crossing the line first. Who could have called that one, Stuart?
Yeah, I don't know, Carl, to be brutally honest. I don't know that anyone could have called that consciously. So we'll just leave that one be. So what we're going to do here now, we'll just jump into the dual screen because qualifying has started on the number 1 screen. It's qualifying for the Pro-Am series, or I guess I keep resisting calling it Pass 1, but the Pro-Am series and Pass 2. We're just waiting for the drivers of the Pass 2 to jump on to the green room, and we'll have them in for a chat. And they're just jumping in now, so we'll grab them in, Carl, and have a chat. We've got Peter Hunter and Sebastian Vardell, who have both joined us. Hello.
Yes. Good evening. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the first the Pass 2 race. Fantastic action up the front. I'm going to start off with you first, Sebastian. P2 there. As always, we start with the lower order generally. So we'll start with yourself. Congratulations on P2. Looked like you had a fantastic battle up there, making up 3 spots throughout the race, and you were fighting for that win pretty hard, but could not quite make it at the end.
Yeah, Peter had some good pace towards the end of the race and just couldn't keep up with him.
No, very much so. It looks like you really had the advantage of coming into the pit lane, but Peter looked to have a slightly better stop. Was that sort of because you took a little bit more fuel on for safety purposes, or did you just have a little bit of a moment in pit lane?
Yeah, I took a bit much fuel. I think it was like 3 laps over what I needed, but I'd rather not run out of fuel and have too much than run out of fuel.
Yeah, there's never a worse feeling than getting onto the last lap with with 1 lap to go and knowing that you can't make it on fuel. Congratulations on P2 though, a really, really strong finish for yourself. Obviously, Pass 2 is new this season, so we're still getting our legs on everything, but it is a very strong start for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Before I let you go, we're going to do the usual thing of shout-outs to sponsors and love to anyone you'd like to say hello to in the chat tonight.
I'd just like to say hello to my dad and give a shout out to my go-kart sponsor, Stratacore.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Sebastian Vandal. Congratulations on P2. Next up, we will head to the Porsche driver at Sebring that took out the win, Peter Hunter. Congratulations on that victory.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was a good race.
I mean, you had a distinct advantage. You're in a Porsche at Sebring. I mean, what could go wrong?
Exactly. Yeah, it was a good race. I mean, a bit of a incident at the beginning there where I really didn't have anywhere to go well and kind of through. So then it was just a matter of chasing down the field really. So head down, bum up really.
Yeah, that's it. I wanted to chat to you about that. Obviously, you sort of had nowhere to go. It was just being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, obviously. But that bit of damage to the front, did it cause much issue to you, or did you not notice too much?
No, it didn't affect my speed or anything, so it was actually all right. Otherwise, I probably would have done an early pit. But yeah, it didn't seem to affect my speed, and I wasn't losing anything on the leaders. So I was pretty happy just to carry on and try and run the gas out of it.
No, that's it. And that's my next question: is how much of an oily rag was left in the fuel tank?
Well, I kind of knew I needed to make the jump on a couple of seconds to try and get the guys in front and to at least get into the draft. So I kind of thought, well, I'll push it and just put what was an extra litre into it. Yeah, it seemed to work. So that was pretty handy.
Yeah, because I think you crossed the line just to make that extra lap by a couple of seconds. There was barely anything for it. We almost caught the white flag and had one less lap. Were you hoping for that possibility?
Yeah, look, it would have been good, but either way, I knew I'd have a litre either way. So, and I think I ended up with 90 mils left. So, yeah, not a lot of fuel, but yeah, worked in the end.
Plenty of fuel. That's more than enough. Too much fuel, in fact.
Exactly.
Look, congratulations on taking out the first GT3 victory for Pass 2. Big well done for that, obviously. It's first time in the GT cars. How was it racing out there for you tonight?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, this is a great track. You know what I mean? It's got so many lines and things to be able to race well and be able to overtake well. So it's a great track for the GTs. So I always really enjoy it. So and a bit of bouncing around as well. So yeah, it's just always a good track and produces a good race.
Very much so. Look, thank you so much, Peter. Before I let you go, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Scott. Obviously, that first lap incident, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where he spun, but so to him. But other than that, Velocity Racing Magazine, and yeah, teammates.
Congratulations on taking out a historic first GT3 win in the AUSPASS, the Pass 2 series. So I'll eventually get it right. Well done, and look, hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. So our first winners in the GTs anyway, and a good result there for the new series. A really good race run first up, and we're just got the last couple of minutes of qualifying here. Scotty Rankin's towelled off and jumped into his commentary suit and has jumped into the booth. Scotty, thanks for joining us.
I'll tell you what, towel off. That was sweaty, boys.
As I say, tough race, but recovered well. So
there was a lot left out there. That's the thing, and that's what I'm frustrated about. I think I said to Stuart pre-broadcast, Carl, but you probably would have watched by learned from that session there. The rear end of these cars really taily with the medium downforce setup, and it's just something you just got to balance. And I prefer to drive Sebring with a high downforce setup. That's just personal preference, so it's adjustments I've got to make.
So we're going to jump in here, Scotty. We'll touch back on that in a couple of minutes. A couple of things I want to ask you about there, but just quickly, we have concluded qualifying. We've got quite a short warm-up here. Of course, the car's gridding up on the back straight. So it was Cooper Webster who joins the series, taking out pole position with Jack Boyd next to him. That's going to be one heck of a race at the front. Jack Wittes just behind them as well with Jeff Connell. Dennis Katarik and Andre Heimgartner round out your top six. 6. Then it's Maverick Benson, Luke Turner off row 4 with Josh Fitt and Mitchell Bolton off row 5. Then Merritt and Dyson off row 6. As we skip over the page here, and it is Scotty Gray and Adam Funzo off 7 with Capel and Rizzo off 8. Then Harris and Hen off 9 with Levin and Mansell off 10. Then Rydell and Pettigrew off 11 with Hughes and Ruwalt off row 12. As we flip over again to Peter and Rosenblatt off 13, Fletcher and Court off 14. Then it's Leach and Cheney off 15 with Bond and Brookfield off 16, followed by Dave Roberts and Daniel Webster off 17 with Matty Johnson and Aaron Raccanello off 18. And then as we go back that little bit further, it is Hugh McLaughlin with Sam Lehman and Angus Chappelle, Ozak Akdemir, my apologies, Oz, off row 20 with Tim Audie, Glenn Boyd off 21, then Ryan Casher off 22 with Kofod next to him, then Hayden Jackson, Arma Sharma, Brady Buchanan and James Mijok rounding out the 48 starters for our Pro-Am split tonight. In fact, I haven't even gone far enough back yet. We've got Jeffrey Wang, Jai Potts off row 25 with Luke Fitt, Andrew Hayes off 26, Derek Audie, Phil Audie off 27, and then rounding it out is Mitchell Sparrow. So apologies to those gentlemen. Still getting used to the depth of the grid. Obviously, it's only round 2 for us as well, so we will get started as the safety car will jump in, the pace car will jump in, and we will get away, gentlemen, to the start of the GT Series Round 2 AUSPROAM Sim Series here live on FGME Cast.
Away we go. Cooper Webster leads away. Great start for Jack Willis behind him. Jack Willis getting a good jump down towards turn number 1 on the inside line. On the outside, Jack Boyd there free wide going into the first corner. Who's going to blink first? Looks like Willis might be able to take this one. Gets a really good exit there. Just pushes Cooper Webster a little bit. He's going to have the inside for the second set of corners for turn 3 right here. Side by side they go, and Jack Willis is going to take the lead of the race. A fantastic start for Jack Willis.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, look at that getaway, and look at the way that he defended down into turn number 1 as well. Wasn't afraid to set it 3 wide. One of the injectors online. Fun, taking out a whole host of cars. Look, the track is blocked. The track was blocked there for half a second. There were piles left, right, and centre. Keep your eyes on the cars back through the pack. I'm wondering whether or not they'll call a safety car. Things have seemed to settle down now, and finally, with all 7 missing the most important car off the grid, the Ford GT. I'll have more words to Sam Lehman next week about that one, but it is the return to 7 cars for AUSPASS Season 5.
And the BMW is leading away. We didn't see much of the BMW in past 2. It was almost contact behind. I think that was one of the Chunga Toyotas. Not sure who that was. I missed out who it actually was that got caught, sent sideways. I'm going back to see if I can find out who that was.
It might have been Adam Funslow potentially, and Michael Rosenblatt involved in an incident there.
It was Dyson. It was Andrew Dyson and Luke Turner, Luke Turner just getting into the side of Andrew Dyson. So gets a big spin around there, spins it round and manages to save it. But I think there was a secondary incident as well. There's too many things to call at the moment, which is always fun. Always the problem we like to have, but we don't like seeing the odd incident out there, unfortunately. But luckily, everybody seems to have managed to get their cars going. No safety car, but we've got another big spin just behind Tim Audie. Looks like Arma Sharma's gone around. Big incident a bit further back.
Up at the front though, Carl, we've got Jack Widdis under heavy pressure here from Cooper Webster, just trying to get the Lamborghini down the inside through the final 2 corners. Couldn't quite get there. Looks like Jack Boyd trying to go around the outside. It's 3 wide into turn 1, and Boyd's got the job done. As Widdis gets loose.
Widdis gets loose, looks for the correct, and finds the left-hand barriers. That will be just about night done. It is going to take a heck of a recovery drive from there. The 15-minute sprint has turned up the action to 11. Actually, you know what? It's taken it to 17, because I think a few of these guys will wish this one was probably 17 minutes in length, so they got another lap to recover.
Yeah, even with the fast repair, it's going to be too long a night to get that one done in the 15 minutes. He'll have to look to race 2 with the reverse top 15 to see if that'll help out.
Carl, what a cracking start, mate. I'll tell you what, there's past stuff. We have not been able to wait for the season to kick back up again.
We have not, so I'm just going back to actually have a bit of a look at that big incident. I saw Tim Harris is actually out of the car. He got a big hit by one of the Mad Cow entries.
Yeah, I think it's Scotty Gray.
Scotty Gray, he actually got caught up by somebody else as well. So there was a spinning Lamborghini in the front, which caused that incident, and that was Maverick Benson. So Maverick Benson had the start of that incident, and then it all went south from there as Scotty Gray went into the bridge, and there's not much room underneath that bridge, unfortunately, so a lot of cars getting taken out early.
Oh, well, I can tell you one thing, that's an experience that I felt far too many times in past two. Jack Boyd touches the grass at the exit of Le Mans on the run down to Sunset. It is a historic track, this Sebring layout, Carl, and that gives me the feeling that you've probably got some trivia lined up for us later in the evening too.
Oh, there may be some. I mean, it's not like there's much that's happened at this place. But a absolutely fantastic track, filled with history, of course, and filled with great motor racing, which we're seeing at the moment. Jeffrey Wang coming into pit lane. So just seeing Jeffrey Wang coming into pit lane for a stop. So a few cars coming in to get some fuel.
Just Glenn Setter-Rydell, who's just gone around in the background there, grabbed a lot of the curb and then a little bit of the grass, and ended up rotating around in the pulse tuning Ferrari. That McLaren, my apologies.
Well, I tell you what, that is a very different looking McLaren compared to the pulse tuning entries from last season, if I do say so. But I tell you what, it has been a return to form for Jack Boyd. This time around, the guy that's in his rearview mirror, well, he was used to looking at Shane Wallace last season. Now he's got Cooper Webster all over him. And I tell you what, I was talking to a few of the boys from the admin channels earlier. This is the first ever time they've seen a driver with a pro license. Is Cooper Webster?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking in the pre-show about his exploits in the earlier in the week, or actually it might have been late last week, in the Porsche Challenge segment to try and get up into the global sports series for Porsche as well. So certainly one talented young man is Cooper Webster. So on a number of fronts. So it's good to see him in the series, and certainly Jack Boyd will be knowing that he's going to have to earn the win tonight. That's for sure.
A fair bit of damage to the left front of Webster as well, so he's going to want to get that fast repair done. Obviously not costing him too much time, but it's never fun having damage on the car.
Well, I can tell you, boys, the strategy information for this one, the 15-minute sprint race, there will be 0 pit stops. At about the 10 or 11 lap mark is the pit stop length for our feature race tonight. You can just see Webster. This is where the Lamborghini's strong, down on the entry into Sunset. Look at how tight they are through there. And all of a sudden, the legs on the BMW, they start to crawl away. And I said something to Stuart earlier in the night as well. I think that that BMW is going to be very strong around Sebring with the layout that they've got on these, the downforce levels they've got in the cars.
Good battle going on a little bit further back between Heimgartner, Gutierrez and Dyson. So teammates of new teammates actually of Heimgartner and Dyson. Oh, they are now in the same team together. So Gutierrez, the bit of meet in the middle of those two Ferraris and trying to get that Audi just a little bit further up, but he's having to defend against Andrew Dyson, who we know is always quick. Mitchell Bolton just sitting behind with John Merritt. So quite a few fast drivers are sitting up there. Jack Boyd really having to just keep the eye on the mirror as well up the front. So there is just fantastic racing going on throughout the field at the moment.
And I just want to point out as well, guys, that Mitchell Bolton is the AM class leader. He's currently running P7 outright. So a cracking effort from him. He is some 7 places above Guy Leach, 10 places, my apologies, above Guy Leach, currently down to P17, who's running second in this class, with current champion Daniel Webster in third in that class. So he is doing a cracking job, Mitchell Bolton.
I don't know if it's just because the BMW is so huge or because the Lamborghini's a little bit small, but because I watch from rear chase cam to do calling, you can't actually see Cooper Webster when you're looking at from the back of Jack Boyd. There is just nothing behind him. It just looks like there's a big gap to Jeff Connell at the moment because that Lamborghini is so close you can't actually see it.
My word, that's hilarious. Oh, that's a hell of a call there, Carl.
You do know we like to give that Lamborghini, the BMW, a little bit of stick.
I tell you what, I was not sure what car to select here because I just didn't have faith that the Ferrari was going to be too strong. So something to consider here with the changes for this season and the way the balance of power is done. At the start of the season, including tonight, all the GT3 cars will have their power set to 95%. What that allows is next week, when the balance of power gets pushed out, is a car's overperforming, it will get a slight nerf to its power. But if there's a car that is underperforming or underrepresented throughout the numbers, it'll get a slight buff to its power. Now, the drivers are allowed to change their cars or their manufacturers once and once only if you are not top 5 in any of the championships. If you are top 5 in Pro, in AM, or I believe in Pass 2, I believe that's being applied there as well. They won't be able to change cars whatsoever. That means that the drivers that are overperforming aren't allowed to change their cars until they slip outside, which is another metric that I believe Stan Lehman is using to make sure that these cars are as close together as possible.
Yeah, I like that rule. That is good stuff. So we'll just jump back here a little bit further back in the pack. We've got Glenn Boyd, Miles Bond having a battle away there. Ryan Kasha as well, just in front with Oars. So this is down in 28th, 29th, 30th and 31st position as Andre Heimgartner looks to have had an issue up the front.
Ooh, big spin.
He's just rotated there. Gitarik as well, yeah. We might just jump back and have a look at that on the replay.
Oh, that McLaren arriving on the scene at a whole rate of knots as Gitarik rejoins there on the left-hand side. That would have been a very, very scary moment in the mid-pack, and here it comes. Heimgartner ahead of Gitarik. Sorry, Gitarik.
Heimgartner has a little bit of a blink and then gets caught by Gitarik. So unfortunate there. Internet netcode. That has caused the issue for that incident, sadly.
Yeah, that's disappointing for both of them. Nothing either of them can do about it. No different to an oil slick catching you out.
Meanwhile, up the front, Cooper Webster's making a move on Jack Boyd, getting down the inside. Cooper Webster finally gets past that BMW, can for once see some racetrack instead of the rear wing of that BMW. Now Boyd is going to stick to that Lamborghini like nothing else.
He's going to open up the corner entry down here. Now, the one thing about Sunset is if you go really narrow and look for the move on entry, makes you weak on exit. Again, Boyd will look for the crisscross here. He'll look to go down the inside here at turn number 2, and then that's the kink, and then it's into 3, and he's just not there, and that is great defending. That's what you expect from a professional level driver right there from Cooper Webster. What a drive.
Look behind these two battling. Look who's just hovering there.
You're kidding me.
The Batmobile. Mr. Jeff Connell, he said last time out, wasn't possibly the fastest driver out there, but used the smartest tactics to get the win in the Joker round. This time round, he's absolutely got some pace sitting behind these two as they battle. It's just bringing him into this fight.
Yeah.
Can we just nerf Connell? Is there any way that we can apply a Connell penalty directly to him?
Oh, no, we love it. We absolutely love it.
Making the move now. They're side by side once more. Just Cooper Webster just having to take a slightly narrower entrance into the corner. That's going to mean he's going to get slightly worse exit. Manages to save it there. Boyd is really putting the pressure on Cooper Webster at the moment. These two are battling tooth and nail.
Yeah, I do enjoy Jeff Connell in the background giving me updates on his livery updates this year. This season he's changed the car. He's gone with gloss black wheels instead of matte.
Oh, that must be a huge change. It's going to add at least half a kilogram to the car's weight. So that is a big penalty he's taking.
I do enjoy it. Thanks, Jazz175 for the follow. Appreciate it. Of course, if you are watching and you don't follow along, we'd appreciate it if you could consider subscribing on whatever platform it is that you are watching and enjoying this stream on.
Boyd once again getting a good run into the corner, gets the inside line. Webster going to have to try and use that outside, try to do the crisscross, try and get underneath, but it's tricky to do. Boyd has got back in the lead of this race, and once again that Lamborghini has to look at the back of the BMW. He's going to hope for not too long as they get down to the first corner once more.
And I tell you what, have a look at that time on your screen as well, 12:16. That means there's 2 laps left to run. So they'll go side by side once more into turn 1, once more into the start of another lap, and Webster's slightly ahead. Will Boyd back out? Yes, he will. Webster sweeps down from the high line. He's a little bit sketchy there up on the curbs, and all of a sudden Boyd surges back. Connell's in the picture. It's on. It's a 3-way fight for race number 1.
I was going to say, watch out for Jeff Connell. He is absolutely smelling some blood in the water. I should say oil in the water right now. Jeff Connell, the Audi shark, absolutely sniffing around, tries to get up there. These two battling is just costing themselves time, although they are setting some quick laps still.
Well, they've run away from the rest of the field, these three. P4's a long way back. Now Webster dips to the left-hand side. That nearly looked like, I tell you what, Jack Boyd may have gotten a slowdown penalty there, is what that looked like to me, just for half a moment, or whether he bailed out early so he could get back in the tow before Connell got there. My word. Carl, it is just on back and forth, and that's the thing. It's so difficult to actually get an overtake done around Sebring. It's one of those tracks where it's difficult. It's bumpy. The car gets unsettled a lot of times throughout the lap. So for these guys to be racing this close for this long, it's intense.
It is absolutely. I mean, look, Sebring never fails to give us some fantastic racing. It's always one of those tracks that brings it up and brings up the great stuff. You got to wonder, Cooper Webster just sitting behind that Beamer for most of that race, got a little bit more fuel on board, possibly able to stretch the legs now, and maybe Jack Boyd is starting to suffer, just having to try and get into the draft, trying to get a little bit of slipstream so he can possibly make it to the end. Could be a little bit touch and go for fuel right here. So Jack Boyd might be a little bit worried, and meanwhile Jeff Connell's just sitting there just rubbing his hands together with glee.
Surely not, that's not the issue. I'm wondering whether or not those front tyres have started to go on the BMW, as is so often the case. Car in pit lane, that's a Macca. Write that one off and out of the equation. It is going to be a three-way fight with three different manufacturers. That's what we wanted with a return to the 7-car full grid for the GT3 format. And I tell you what, it has been on from race number 1. And if you thought this was good, wait until you see the strategy plays from race number 2.
And guys, just to give you an update on the amateur class, you don't have to look too far in the background of this lead battle to see the leader of the AM class, now Mitchell Bolton, running in P4. That white Audi in the distance in the background is the leader of our AM category.
Yeah, very much could see a Jeff Connell rule coming into effect there. Of course, Jeff Connell famous for bringing in the rule for the AM Pro swap situation, but meanwhile Cooper Webster doing a fantastic job now in the lead of this race. Only half of the way to go, almost at the end as the sun starts to set here, and that beautiful night sky here in Florida shines away.
I do need to touch on that in the race in between, Carl. Qualifying so close in this series between the Pro and the AM split that it wouldn't surprise me if we see a couple of these races where the AM drivers do take it to the Pro drivers, as we're seeing so far here tonight.
Yeah, that's it. It was so tight this year, and we saw a lot of drivers just absolutely nailing it. It was great to see, and if you missed out on the qualifying, jump back to just have a look at some of those laps, because we saw some great stuff. Just keeping an eye right there. Jeff Connell just losing a little bit of time. Jack Boyd trying to mount a little bit of an attack if possible, but not much left to go of this lap. Not much he can do on Cooper Webster.
So the Lamborghini gets out of the last corner. You can see how bumpy the track is. Just controls the throttle there, and he's going to get across the line to take the win here. And a great bit of racing from Cooper Webster and Jack Boyd, with Jeff Connell in third and Mitchell Bolton taking out P4 and first outright for the amateur class, with John Merritt behind him. Joshua Fitt comes home in 6th, with Luke Turner in 7th. Ross Rizzo in 8th position in the BMW. And we've got the Audi of Brandon Levin and Andre Heimgartner recovering well to come home in 10th position. Daniel Webster brings home T2 in the AM class, with Guy Leach P3 in the Injectors Online Racing Porsche. And that concludes a 15 minutes of your life that went by quicker than probably most, given how much action there was in that race.
I'll tell you what, I thought a few of the drivers might want that extra couple of minutes, that extra lap to squeeze in. I think I need a few extra minutes of that squeezed in. Well, good news, we back it up. And we go toe-to-toe again next time around. Don't forget, Cooper Webster making his debut within the AUSPASS service. So did not attend last week out. That would mean that just about that, I would say Jeff Connell would still be hanging on to a championship lead after race number 1. But anything can happen, boys. And updates to the cars this season. Fuel tanks are uncapped. The only thing that's capped is the fuel that you start the race with. So that is the difference between this season and last season. You can pit on lap 1 and make it home.
That's exciting news. Who is going to take that little bit of risk, of course, and it's going to be juicy. It's going to be exciting.
Well, okay, let's clarify here, because another Jeff Connell rule just popped into my mind, and something we were talking about during the Pass 2 server as well. You cannot pit... God, Jeff, stop it, please. Stop making us have to come up with rules. You cannot pit before the race has gone green. You cannot file through pit lane on that opening lap. Consider the pit lane entry closed the first time that pace car goes down the lane. So, one racing lap must be completed before you make your way into pit lane. Carl, race number 1, 3 manufacturers on the podium. I don't know what to say. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what we wanted from Pass 2 AUSPASS in season number 5.
Yeah, that is just fantastic stuff, and it is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to see a few more manufacturers up there, a few different cars. We want to see them dicing it out, and we got it. And what great racing that was. That was some fantastic action and some fantastic overtakes as well. That was just something else.
It's a critical part. Everyone got an opportunity. The racing, remember, cast your mind back to a few weeks ago when we watched the Last Chance Saloon of qualifying. The entirety of the Pro Split separated by 0.4 of a second. The M Split, well, 0.4 of a second covered that one as well. A bunch of drivers ended up out of sequence where we were expecting them. One of those was Maverick Benson, who's running in the amateur class this season. I think I can say that just about everyone was expecting Maverick Benson to end up in the Pro Split, and things just have not gone his way so far in the M Split.
No, very much so. It's a big shake up for a lot of these drivers as well, which that's the thing. A lot of the drivers came into this race thinking, look, it's going to be easy enough to get into the Pro this year. It's going to be pretty easy, and then all of a sudden they drop down to the AM and they see some of the AMs from last season jumping up into the Pro sessions and setting some fantastic laps from it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kicker, isn't it? And take a look at Sam Lehman, mind you, who was running probably about midway through the amateur split last season, finds himself in Pro as the very last driver qualified into the Pro Split last time. So, yeah, for this season. Look, there's a few guys that are like that right up and down the field. We'll have stories to tell you as the points start to trickle in. And I tell you what, last week was an interesting race. Spa in the high downforce cars, that made for an absolute cracker. Who's the story coming out of last week that you're looking for in this race?
Oh, it's tricky to say. Look, it's going to be interesting to see what Cooper Webster can do in this race. I've got to say, starting down in P10. Obviously, grids get swapped around a little bit. I'm going to be interested to see what Cooper Webster can do in this race. Andre Heimgartner is going to be starting from pole. We know Heimgartner is quick. Hopefully, internet connectivity issues are gone as well, so hopefully things will be going well there too. What about Mitchell Bolton? Where can he end up in this race? He's going to be starting down in 7th now. Saw him work up to P4 from P10 on the grid. So, there's going to be some fascinating stuff out there. And don't forget, we've got some very fast drivers a little bit further back as well. We've got Dyson Mansell. We've got so many drivers that you expect to see right up there who are going to be starting way back. Look out for Tim Harris in the locked-on car. He qualified in P17. Unfortunately, got taken out with that first lap incident with the Cows car. And really got taken down quite a few positions. And he's going to be looking to try and move his way up. Lachlan Capel as well, one of those drivers that we know is very quick. Going to be trying to work their way up through the field. Going to be starting down in 50th position. There's going to be a lot of drivers out of sync for this race. And we're going to see some fantastic recoveries, I think.
Tell you what, I was actually chatting to Capel, as I always do, prior to the start of the race. He said he was struggling in qualifying, could not find a clear section of track to set that lap. And I think that frustration a little bit has carried on over into the first race because he wanted to be a little bit further up the grid than he was. He just couldn't time the run. And that's the thing about being a bit younger. You don't have that level of experience. You're still learning your craft. You're still learning these little tips and tricks of the trade, aren't you? So it's all a learning curve, and he definitely will be taking a lot of tips into next week. Is there any other drivers? Tim Harris, or I think we said is again in pro split. I mean, what are the words that you're offering to these guys that are perhaps a little bit out of sync for the start of this second race?
Take your time. Look, Scott Gray as well. He's going to be well down there. We know Scotty Gray's very quick too. It's just going to be working your way through the field. Work smarter and not harder, I think. You just got to try and think of a decent strategy call. Try and think of ways you can get yourself slightly out of sync, get out of the traffic. Traffic management is going to be a huge issue for the drivers. There's not a huge split in the times these guys set, but when you get caught up in that accordion effect happens, you just got to try and work a little bit smarter to work your way up through the field. So possibly an early stop could be beneficial here.
Righto, so probably just an opportunity whilst this warm-up session draws to a close to once again say a big shout out, a big thank you to everyone that makes this possible. Number one this season, simrigs.com. They've stepped up, they've taken the full naming rights sponsor for the season. Season 5, proudly brought to you by simrigs.com. Thank you to all of those guys as well, all the Auties down there. They do a heck of a job bringing us a whole bunch of sim racing equipment. As well, 93PC, CTC, that's Computer Technology Corporation, Schuka Toyota, and HJ Plant Repairs as well. I tell you what, if you thought that the last season was an absolute cracker, we've just hit the first round of this season, and we've got a three-way fight for the lead. We've now got 10 cars instead of 15 that's reverse gridded up. I'm a little bit curious to see how the changes play out in this one. And I actually think you're going to see either Cooper Webster or Jack Boyd pit at the end of lap 1. Maybe both, actually. Maybe both.
Yeah. That's it. So just run through the top 10 quickly. So it's Humgartner and Levin off the front row, Ross Rizzo, Luke Turner, Joshua Fitt, John Merritt, Mitchell Bolton, Jeff Connell, Jack Boyd, Cooper Webster, the top 10 in this race. They're getting going, and looks like Humgartner is having a couple of little blinky issues. Hopefully that sorts itself out. And we are going to be going green very, very shortly here as we get ready for the feature race here at Sebring International Raceway for AUSPASS. And away we go.
That's it, the run down to turn number 1. It's going to be led away by Andre Heimgartner. Gets a huge jump, and have a look at the pack as they all start to sell themselves out. 5 wide on the entry of turn number 1. Are you crazy? Are you mental? Yes, they are, and there's the result.
There is a big accident behind. Lots of cars caught up in that, and more still going. There are still cars going off the track at the moment. Alex Court getting caught up just in the latter ends of that, but cars are still trying to recover. Trying to see Ross Rizzo really out of position in that. So yeah, a lot of cars caught up, still actually trying to catch themselves up from that incident. There are a fair few vehicles caught up in that one. That has taken out a lot of the field.
Well, they're going to have to pull their heads together. Remember what I said about pitting on lap number 1. My worry for this one is we're going to have to keep an eye on that track map right throughout proceedings here this evening, because I get the feeling we're going to have guys pitting coming out immediately in front of the leaders very, very early on into this race.
This has worked out very well for Andre Heimgartner and Jeff Connell. Jeff Connell already up in P2.
Is that Cooper Webster already up into P3? You're kidding me.
It's Andre Heimgartner in P1 with Jeff Connell P2, 2 seconds off the lead. 3.4 down is Cooper Webster. John Merritt up in P4. Jared Hughes up in P5. 6th is Dyson, Andrew Dyson. 7th is Dennis Gatarik. 8th is Paul Mansell. Jordan Peter in 9th. And Daniel Webster in P10. So a few drivers moving their way up the field at the moment and getting really good starts there. Richard Brookfield getting a fantastic start, making 8 positions. But the biggest gainer is Jared Hughes with 9 that I can see on my screen at the moment.
Yeah, Jared Hughes, biggest move of the night on screen so far. He's behind John Merritt, who was very, very good at defending during our last race. So he's going to be a tough one to pass, as it looks like Jared Hughes tries to get down the inside there into the final 2 turns. Mclaren perfectly positioned for the exit. Andrew Dyson jogging on the spot with Dennis Gatarik as well, who has jumped into pit lane behind him. So Gatarik choosing to pit early.
Costly costly was that accident for Brendan Levine. He's still trying to get round to get into pit lane. So that incident was caused by Brendan Levine actually just in the first corner. He just got a little bit loose on the exit, spun it round, unfortunately, and then everybody had nowhere to go, and it was a big accident. So that was really, really costly at the start. Huge incident. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you got cold tyres in the evening.
Well, that'll settle it out. That'll shake things up just to begin with. These guys have now got to get their elbows out, settle into the race a little bit as the sun starts to set at Sebring. Starts to set. It's been setting for a fair while, and those lights really start to come into their own anytime about now. Car in the background is going to be looking for a move down the inside. It was one of those white cars. I think it was a McLaren back there. So guys are already starting to get a hurry on. They want to make the most of this 45-minute race.
Yeah, they're trying to get a little bit further up, trying to get some moves made, and just trying to really get themselves a little bit of space right here, which is always hard to do. Just looking through the AM class, it's Guy Leach in the lead at the moment. Daniel Webster in the lead at the moment. Guy Leach just behind him in 9th and 10th. So the AMs are very much up the pointy end of the field at the moment.
Well, chaos is the story of the night. Start race number 2. Keeping your eyes way down the order. See a whole bunch of guys pulling towards the right. This will be what gives us the tell for what causes the accident down in turn number 1. On the anchors, starts to turn it in 3-4 wide, way back in the pack, and it's that first bump that unsettles the Audi at the head of the queue, and the whole field has just got nowhere to go. Gee, that looks oddly similar to somebody else from past 2. Who was that?
Yeah, somebody else made that mistake today, but I can't name a name.
No clue.
I think it was, yeah. Meanwhile, leader is Heimgartner, who is still having a couple of blinking issues, but hopefully things do settle down a little bit. He's got Jeff Connell behind him with Cooper Webster. Those three have got a little bit of space. Got a bit of an incident there.
Sam Lehman.
Sam Lehman.
Now, I was talking to him actually earlier about the Audi, and he said to himself, I've got to keep remembering that this car is not just point and shoot. I've got to wait for the car to rotate, and I've got to give it that little bit of throttle just to stabilise the rear end. So he'll channel down pit lane. That'll be a fast repair burn very quickly. The benefit for Sam is that it's happened right before the pit lane entry, so not too far to go for him. And have a look at that, 50-plus cars to start the GT3 segment of AUSPASS season number 5. I tell you what, from strength to strength to strength, the field continues to show, including multiple members of V8 supercar royalty within Australia. That's such a good vote of confidence that there's so many guys returning season after season after season.
Yeah, that's it. It's returning people that really makes you feel good, because you get people jumping in for a run every now and again, but sometimes they just go, oh yeah, this is all that fun, and then don't come back. But when you've got people coming back every year, that shows that things are working and working very well. And when you've got competition like this, how can you not jump back in? Because it is so much fun out there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Carl, you're going to have to step up and take one of these weeks in Pass 2, I think.
Nobody wants to see that.
Stuart, we're going to have to record a race between the commentary box. Is that going to be a thing?
Yeah, I guess we can, but I can tell you now.
Just jumping back, Andrew Dyson making a move right here on Jared Hughes. Dyson making the move in the Ferrari on Ferrari action. Just in front of them is John Merritt, who was also just making a little bit of a move there, I think. So John Merritt's just sort of got a little bit scruffy, but really, really nice to see that action out on track. They are driving very hard at the moment, driving very fast. And there is a lot of passing going on the track. Miles Bond, however, has had a big moment in the Lamborghini, just losing it through the final set of corners. Back end just gets out, just tags the wall slightly and just loses it in front of a couple of other cars. Luckily, they get through unscathed. The Bolognese not getting spilt too much.
Does a good job there rejoining Miles Bond. No surprise at all. Yeah, I've spent the weekend cutting out car liveries, and I can tell you the Pace Syndicate guys have got some of the best liveries on the stream. We've got Bolognese. I can't remember the other two teams that they're running, but some cracking liveries on those cars as well. But Miles Bond recovers there. No damage to the Lambo, so he will get back on with it. And Carl, just to let you know, John Baldwin certainly wants to see you in a Pass 2 race.
Oh dear. Jeff Collins and Cooper Webster are battling away. There's some fantastic racing going on tonight.
Dodge that question
Just
like a pro.
change
Can
the
I take
subject.
lessons?
Well done.
We caught that. It's okay. We caught that. We know exactly what you're trying to do, Carl.
So the concern here, of course, is that Andre Heimgartner still has shown he's got a little bit of flashing going on still. Not in the not inappropriate kind. He is just having a couple of internet issues. So this is what brought him unstuck, as he just jumps off the screen there, perfectly timed. This is what brought him unstuck in race 1 with an incident with Dennis Gatarik, and of course he's got Cooper Webster and Jeff Connell not only battling away but closing down on him as well. So things could get hairy at the front. Yeah, I was going to say there's a wall of cars coming at them as well. So it's about to heat up.
Yeah, those guys are catching at a vast rate of knots as well, and it just, when you've got a car blinking in front of you, it's not like sort of full metal racing. You don't usually have cars disappearing in front of you when you're driving a real world race car, but in sim racing it's very distracting, because sometimes it might rejoin in a slightly different spot than you were expecting, and that can really catch you out. We do see it on the ovals sometimes, and that's really, really tricky. But on a track like this, where you sort of don't know where the car's going to be from one lap to the next, it can really, really cause a big moment. And what Andre Heimgartner's just got to do is just keep a steady pace, just try and keep it out in front. And what Connell's got to do is just try and jump him in the pit lane.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to start seeing is, remember, another car round, that's Luke Fitt. What's that Porsche called again?
Yes, that one.
Carl's favourite Porsche.
Oh, the Manti.
Yeah. No, the watermelon Porsche.
Oh yeah, the watermelon Porsche, of course. Yes, the watermelon Porsche that I could not put the name of, and it was driving me mad all season. That may be a Manti.
So this is actually Josh Fitt on screen. So Luke Fitt and Josh Fitt coming a cropper on the same lap at the same time, different parts of the track.
Remind me not to change my last name to Fitt.
And Carl, just to keep you up to date, this thing of you racing in pass 2 is gathering steam. Phil Otto's jumped on board now as well, and John Baldwin's even willing to share his livery with you for the race.
No. You're going to have to get a Manti Porsche. You're going to have to contact the Fitt. I don't think you have a choice on that one, Carl.
That does mean driving a Porsche, though, which goes against my religion, because an engine is in front of the car. To the race, Andre Heimgartner leads with Jeff Connell and Cooper Webster in third.
I think we could get quite a bit of support behind this. I think this is what they call retribution for the quiz.
I've been nice to you tonight. I haven't done any questions.
Anyway, as you can see here, we're just having a look at Daniel Webster. He's caught up in this pack of cars. He's currently leading the AM series, and he is well and truly in the battle inside the top 10 here. We've got 6 or 7 cars involved in this battle.
Is that Ruwalt? I believe that is Ruwalt.
Yes, James Ruwalt, you're correct.
So it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to the rest of those guys that have taken pit stops at the moment. Dennis Gatarik, the leading car of the cars that have come into pit lane. Luke Turner, Jack Weddes, Rizzo. Of course, a few of those cars caught up in contact as well. So there are a few cars that are very much out of position tonight.
Can I tell you,
how
Carl,
this rocks out.
just sorry to interrupt, that Dennis Gatarik is lapping faster than Andre Heimgartner, Jeff Connell and Cooper Webster at the moment. So he is making up time very much so at with that early stop.
That says to me some of the boys out in front might be fuel saving to try and put an extra lap on that tank.
As you can see here now, Cooper Webster. Oh, far out. I'll stop.
Making the move there, Cooper Webster, and making it stick. I was just about to say, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jeff Connell just ease off a little bit and fall behind Webster, just to try and get sort of just behind a little bit to get a little bit of extra draft down the straights here. There are some nice big long straights here at Sebring, of course. Which used to help.
He's doing it again. We've seen this every... Jeff, find a new strategy, mate.
Well, when it works.
We've seen this one before. Well, yeah, when it works, I suppose. Yeah, all right. I suppose the other side of the coin is, I mean, one of us it seems to be able to drive a car properly on stream. Don't know who that one is. Anyway.
No comment there. No comment.
Fair enough.
But we're going to see right now Cooper Webster getting right to the back Heimgartner. I think Cooper Webster really wants to get past now because they're desperately losing time right here, and really wants to go in. No, he comes into pit lane. Webster into pit lane. So Webster is the first to blink in that lead pack. Set an absolute blistering lap there to get a good in lap there. First to come to pit lane, and now Jeff Connell's going to have to be watching out because Webster's going to be flying when he comes out. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think Cooper Webster's triggered that by the fact that Jeff Connell slid behind him. I think he was watching us a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's gone, you know what? Connell's going to try and fuel save. Let's cut that strategy out of the equation, and let's go balls to the wall. I guarantee you'll see both of these guys in the lane next time by.
What we've got in the small screen is Dennis Gitarik, who is the lead car on the pit stops. By pit stops, he is on his way back down pit lane now, and Cooper Webster is just on his way out. So you can see there, Cooper just emerging from pit lane, and Dennis Gitarik is just coming around turn 1. So it certainly played into his hands, Gitarik, of course, with Webster pitting when he was in P2, and he's just at the back of the pack there.
Yeah, so just waiting for my timing to shake out. Luke Turner was sniffing around there as well, from what I could see. So Luke Turner moving way up.
Yeah, he is.
So this is going to be interesting. This is going to bring in some interesting strategy calls tonight, and it's helped people like John Merritt and Andrew Dyson just catch up to those leaders as well. Those guys have sort of built. They've gained a little bit of time there, but I think a lot of them are in fuel saving mode, just trying to get a little bit longer, have a little bit of a shorter stop, see what they can do in this race.
See, doesn't it? It's sort of like the chicken game. Who's gonna fuel save enough and who won't make it? So I think everyone's playing a little bit of the bide your time, by the time, and we're about to see this boil over as we funnel back down into sunset once again. Is it going to be either of the two of these guys diving onto pit lane? No, both of them have taken the wide exit. That means they're going to push on for another lap, and I tell you what, Connell looks 10 times closer this time by than he was in the last.
Yeah, Connell about 3/10 quicker last time round on that lap.
Oh,
absolutely
that's disconcerting.
Flying, but it is just so clenching is the term I'd use when you've got a car blinking away like that in front of you, and Connell is doing a good job of keeping control and just keeping in a safe spot.
The only reassuring thing is that it's Andre Heimgartner in front of him, so you can rest assured that Andre will be pushing, knows where to brake, and will be relatively consistent in his lap, so that will help. But yeah, you can see they're on board what Carl was describing before, and we're seeing it right again now into the braking zone. That's probably the worst time for it to happen, because it's as a hell of a hurry can end up with you in the back of the Ferrari, having that as a hood ornament on the front of the Audi.
Things I've learned tonight. Being a V8 supercars driver does not guarantee that you'll have good internet connections, so there goes my hopes.
Unfortunately, the joys of living in Australia and New Zealand, that is part of the drawback that we get. The perks, of course, is we have every kind of venomous species known to man. So
it's not a perk!
Absolutely.
It's not
Absolutely, it's a perk.
Well, if you've got venomous mammals that lay eggs, you've got a perk. That's for me.
Imagine how boring it would be without them.
Well, speaking of venomous mammals with I don't know where I was going with that one.
No, I was getting concerned. I had my hand. I had my hand over the mute button. I wasn't sure where we were headed there. down a big rabbit hole that we've not been down before, Scotty.
I was about to say venomous mammals that lay eggs with perks and say Jeff Connell, but he's Kiwi, so that rules that one out. Yeah, look, it's not been my best night for references, we'll say that much. There it is. Heimgartner had about half a metre to spare between him and the tyre barriers. He blinks out once again. Connell fires to the inside. The grass not the best place to pick up a bunch of momentum, and lead change for the first time in the feature.
Will Connell be able to hold it? Yes, he can. Just about gets it past Heimgartner. Really nice move there. A little mistake is all it takes, and Connell has now pounced. Now, Connell, how much pace has he got left in that car? How much can he actually get out of it? Can he get a few good laps in here and actually make a bit of a jump?
Well, that's it. Time to settle back down for Jeff Connell. Get the eyes forward. He no longer has to look at that disconcerting blinking car. The critical factors as we start to see all of the drivers who have filed through pit lane. Now remember, max fuel distance is going to be about 10, 11 laps. That's going to get us through to about 22 minutes, 23, 24 if they're fuel saving. So keep your eyes on that number as we are rapidly approaching that at this point in time. Let's take a look back through the pack if we can. I'm keen to see where Jack Boyd's popped out after the chaos of lap number 1. Well, inside the top 10, that is where it's played out for Jack Boyd. I tell you what, he would have pit too at the end of that first lap, so I think he's the lead car that's pitted.
Cooper Webster is the lead car that's pitted.
Boyd didn't pit.
No, he did not. So
Dennis Gatarik is sitting in behind Cooper Webster, just about 5 seconds off. So Dennis Gatarik has made up some good moves here, made up a good bit of time. Luke Turner just sitting in about 4 seconds behind Gatarik at the moment. There is a fair gap between them, but this is... Jeff Connell's going to have to really make some good lap times right here to actually come out in front of Cooper, I think.
I was going to say, what's Webster looking like at this point in time with his lap time? Don't forget to keep your eye on that amateur class leader on the right of your screen as well. That is Daniel Webster filing down pit lane. And was that Andre Heimgartner ahead of him? No, it wasn't. Sorry, my apologies.
Yes, it was. No, you were right, Scotty.
Andre Heimgartner has come back into the pit lane. There you go.
And Jeff Connell.
Everyone's in. It is about to play out on your screens. The entire field that has not pit files down pit lane. And it's the
entire field other than Andrew Dyson. Dyson has stayed out.
The Simrig's boys, Dyson and Derek Audie, both staying out. They've obviously conserved some extra fuel in that 1 lap extra here. That's going to make a good difference for Dyson. So let's jump on board with him and have a listen. Not conserving that much down into the braking zone, so maybe just that running back in the pack there, enabling him to save just that little bit of extra fuel in order to get around another lap.
That's the thing, checking up on the opening lap and just easing off the throttle, it does do that just by the nature of the driving style you have to adopt to keep the car alive.
Of course, Phoenix Smokers a sponsor of the series as well, so for all of your meat smoking needs, jump onto the website and have a look there. I know they've got some specials on at the moment as well.
Yeah, do you see, Scotty, I thought you were going to segue, speaking of venomous creatures, I thought you were going to segue to Flying Lizard Motorsport and ask me about how they did at Sebring. So I believe that's a question. So Flying Lizard Motorsport, what was their best finish at Sebring in the GT class?
I'm out.
Venomous. Is that the correct answer? Is it eggs? Is it mammals that lay eggs?
That is the real question. Yes, yeah, congratulations. No, they did finish at Sebring, and Flying Lizard, of course, taking out a few of the American Le Mans Series, the ALMS Series championships and GT cars. But what was their best finish at Sebring?
Third. I'm taking a stab in the dark here.
As Dyson comes in pit lane. So Jeff Connell has come out in the lead, importantly. So Jeff Connell is still in the lead, but he has got Cooper Webster right behind him at the moment. So this battle is right on as they come, as the few that's...
Yep, so we've got... it is Connell, Webster and Heimgartner, so the order has been reversed through the pit lane process. John Merritt in 4th position. Dennis Gatarik closed right up now into P5.
Now, Stuart, I believe this is one of your favourite tracks around here, Sebring, if I'm not mistaken.
Spot on.
Yes, so talk to us about the alternative lines, because that last corner, Sunset, you can attack it well, actually, I tell you what, we'll wait till the end of this lap because we'll be able to see it, because I just noticed Jeff Connell's running that wider entry line, which gives him it just changes up the nature of the corner right the way through. But we'll talk about that in a few moments when we get to the tail end of the lap. And this battle is getting close because Dyson is in that picture as well, so it's going to be as we near the halfway mark. In fact, we've just crossed the halfway mark at this point in time, so it is now going to be a 4-car fight for the lead. Cooper Webster just wanted to fill the mirrors there of Jeff Connell as they head down into the hairpin. Get back on the power. Take a ride around this track with Jeff Connell. It is an absolute bumpy ride. You don't want to run Formula cars around here, I'll tell you that much. You'll come away with a very sore back, the stiff suspension. This is, I believe, this is Chamberlain. and then Tower will be the next right-hander coming up here on the right-hand side of the track. Bump car bounces all the way out the curb on the left-hand side. There's a couple of bumps in the middle of the corner here. You can just see how much that car's bouncing around. I think Connell might have picked up a little bit of dirt on the exit, so Webster is closing. The gap is only 1.5 tenths as they head up into the Le Mans section, right up and across the curbs on the right-hand side, again on the left, flowing all the way out to the extreme edge of the track, and there it is, the view from the nose cam as they come through Le Mans, down the back straight. And Stu, talk us through Sunset.
Yeah, through Sunset here, you've got to be careful. You don't get too close to the wall. You want to get as close as you can. As you see down the inside here, it looks like Cooper Webster's going to make the move, and he gets it done down the inside, and he's going to take away that P1. You can see how bumpy it is on the exit there. There's two different lines you can take through that corner, both on the same line there, just to avoid the bumps that push you wide and can put you at risk of hitting that tyre wall or get too close and you hit the inside wall. Same here. There's two alternate lines. You get in nice and close early there. It's actually a small little camera box that you can use as a reference point. You want to get nice and close, which means you can get on the gas as early as possible and run the car nice and wide on the exit of the corner. Executed perfectly there by the two gentlemen on screen as there was the change for the lead. Cooper Webster now out in front in this race with 17 or 16 and a half minutes to go.
Bit of a change behind as well. Dyson in front of Heimgartner now. So Dyson is on the charge. I think Dyson's being let off the leash as Heimgartner is just settling in a little bit with those little bit of connectivity issues. John Merritt sitting behind with Dennis Katarik as well. Good job from the Chunga Toyota liveried cars.
Chuka Toyota. Got there eventually.
Pronunciation is not my strong point. You can ask anyone about that one.
Neither's livery names, hey.
That's all right. That's why we're here to support you. We work as a team.
Of course, Scotty, you did say you don't want to run a Formula car
Jared
around
Hughes
here, but,
just goes around in the background there. Sorry, Carl.
That's okay. That's more important than me battling on. Big moment there. Looks like maybe just lost the rear.
Yeah, just over-rotated a little bit.
Just got on the grass. So yeah, just got on the grass in the mid-corner, lost the rear, and around he went.
And that's the big risk around here. You talk about Bathurst and you talk about how close the walls are. Well, have a look at how spacious this track is. An old airport converted into a racetrack, as so many of the old World War II airports have been, both within America and within the UK. And so there's two things about Sebring. First of all, the bumps. Second of all, don't stick that outside rear tyre in the grass.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to be on the grass generally. It's never a good idea because it tends to be a little bit slippery.
In my case, you don't even want to be on the track.
But there was a Formula 1 race held here, of course.
It was? You're kidding me!
First American Grand Prix back in 1959 was held in Sebring.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes, but Formula races have been held here. A member of the Australia-New Zealand tribe won it. We'll claim him as an Aussie because he won it. Of course, Bruce Mclaren.
That's what I was about to go. Who was the Kiwi back then? I know the name. Yeah, Bruce McLaren. Yeah.
There were a couple back then. Five boys, the Kiwis. And we've got a few out there tonight doing a good job.
One of them's cracking around in second place at this point in time. James Ruwald, we were talking about him filing through pit lane earlier on in the piece. One of the early takers for that stops, popped out in P number 11. Now the entire field has shuffled through pit lane at this point in time. So when we get another opportunity to have a look through at that running order, you will see exactly the fuel adjusted, the pit lane corrected running order, which will pop up probably here in a few moments. I'll tell you what, this battle pack, that's the benefit of AUSPROAM Sim Series. You can look at the track map and it is just one big log snake for the bulk of the night.
Very much so. Just looking at the amateur class, Guy Leach is in the lead, sitting in P9 overall, doing a good run in the Porsche at the moment. Just ahead of Daniel Webster in P13 overall, second in class, and Richard Brookfield in P15, third in class. Davey Roberts just behind him with Hugh McLaughlin as well.
That one right there. Never leave that off the screen. Never take that off. That's my favourite one. I look at that all the time. The track map up in your top right-hand corner. All the bells and whistles proudly brought to you by FGM eCars. Stuart always gets big rap for his camera work and his adjustability. How many series E-series around the world do you see with picture-in-a-picture? I tell you what, Stuart, you do a cracker. Always happy with your camera work, buddy. We're also the E place for pace, which that was that AUSPASS season 1. We come up with that one. Was that Oz in? Oh, there you go.
Meanwhile, there's a good battle going on down. Jack Boyd just getting past Daniel Webster, who has now got Richard Brookfield all over the back of him, battling it out. The amateur drivers there battling it out for the podium. So there is some good battles going on throughout the track. Don't take your eye off the front as well, as Jeff Connell is still sitting on the back of Cooper Webster. So the battle there is still very much up for grabs, and it just takes one single mistake and you could see one of those cars dropping way back and falling right off performance.
Well, I was just about to say, what a drive from Jack Boyd for a recovery effort. But I tell you what about Jack Widders? Because he was having a lot of troubles early on in the piece, all the way up to 17th. And Ross Rizzo has attached himself to the rear bumper of Jack Widders' machine. That's another one to keep your eye on as well. I'm pretty sure Ross Rizzo would be a little bit disappointed with running that deep in the pack. He had a phenomenal season last season, and well, even the season before that, season 3. One of the moments of the season was him running out of fuel on the last lap, only for Jack Boyd to do the very same thing to him in the next one. A little bit of hip and shoulder there, as Boyd gets escorted a little bit wide there. The McLaren in front of him might be breathing fire in his windshield, and I think Boyd is a little bit fired up in the cockpit after that one for sure.
My brain just naturally went to, it looks like that engine is gone. That was a lot of fire.
Doesn't it? I tell you what, the night race next time by might just have to be McLaren GT3s the whole time, with all that flame breathing ability, and toggle the lights off if we can. That would be an absolute blast. Keeping your eyes on that picture-in-a-picture as well. It's not going away. Jeff Connell and Cooper Webster is going to have his eyes glued to that rearview mirror for most of the night. We'll see if Jack Boyd can continue his pathway through the grid, flicking a little bit further down the order. Dave Roberts on your screen in that very, very pretty Stuttgart Porsche. That is, oh my word, those Pace Syndicate liveries. I think we're going to have ourselves a livery competition this season, because a lot of the drivers have been putting in work just to keep Stuart busy, flicking through the liveries and getting them adjusted into the order. Well, you thought it was over for Jack Boyd. He picked off one car. It might be a little bit of a break before he gets onto the next one. No, immediately down the inside, he'll pick off another, does Jack Boyd, and that is going to be another place further forward. He's up to 11th. He's looking to creep his way into the top 10.
Yeah, just going to say, absolutely flying there. There was a little bit of a mistake back there as well, I believe, so that helped Widders just catch up to this little pack a little bit earlier than he expected. Big moment for Jack Widders. He is out of the race. Just got into the back of somebody else there, and might be the end of his race there. So just into the back of Dave Roberts. So Jack Widders had some kind of failure, yeah, because he's just very much dropped out.
It's a shame. That was a huge recovery drive from him. I was impressed with that. Absolutely over the moon with that one, but that's unfortunate for Jack Widdis. I don't know, guys. So we're round number 1 of the GT3 portion, following on from the wildcard round last season. We've already got 2 ideas for the remainder of the season. So we're doing livery competition, we're doing the combox competition. And it's going to be a spicy season, this one. What's next? Best social media post of the season? Who's that bottom right? Yep, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure Connell is creeping right into that rear view mirror of Cooper Webster, and I think if he'd gotten any closer, there might have been a tail light out for Cooper Webster. He would have been pulled over on the drive home, that's for sure, because Connell is coming. Effectively, alternative skinned Audis at work here, boys.
One of the things I was going to say was Connell was just a couple of attempts quicker the last few laps. Now Cooper Webster's starting putting in the pace. I think just watching this battle going on behind and just starting to react to this.
Listen to that engine of Jeff Connell's wind its way up through the gears. Slightly different note in the Lamborghini. Lamborghini's got a little bit more of a scream to it. A little bit more blowing your eardrums out if you're not careful too. That's the benefit of being in a very expensive race car. They sound absolutely gorgeous once again. Connell right now, I reckon he's saving up. He's going to have a crack at him, and Cooper Webster will be aware of it with next to nothing left on the clock.
Jack Boyd's just got past Guy Leach, so there's a change of position there. Boyd now up into P9.
I think that's disappointing that he hasn't had the opportunity to race up front with these boys in this one, because I'm just keeping an eye on that time. I think he's actually closing times on the leader, so I have a feeling that Jack Boyd might be the fastest car out on track as it stands at this point in time. Look at those glowing brake discs in the twilight there.
Just look at how dark it's gotten as well. One of the beautiful things about Sebring is just when it gets dark like this, there are a few circuit lights here and there, but generally it is just relying on those headlights. There's still a little bit of gloom from the sunset itself, but it is definitely getting dark out there.
Yeah, the cat's eyes, that is one of the benefits of running around Sebring. You really get to understand exactly where the edges of the track are, and it's a really different experience, kind of surreal to be running past them at such a high rate of speed when you're used to highway speeds in your everyday car. Once again, Jeff Connell continue to harass the rear bumper of the Lamborghini. You just see it on the entry there, just a little bit quicker, runs a little bit wide, can't pick up the throttle as aggressively on the mid-corner. Just slight differences in the way you drive the GT3 cars, and that's what makes the 7 manufacturer series so interesting to just about everyone that picks one of these bad boys up.
Jumping back a little bit to P18, Maverick Benson having a really good recovery drive from that early instant. 24 positions gained up to P18 at the moment for the AM driver. Scott Gray as well up 24 positions in 21st. Also having a very good recovery drive after getting caught out with the bridge earlier on in the first race. But a very good recovery in this one, getting up through over half of the field.
Again, I love those brake discs in the twilight. Highlight of my evening, seeing brake discs in the twilight. Look at them glow, and you can tell that bias is very rear set for Scott Gray, because have a look at the colour difference in the front and rear discs. That is that telling factor, that one.
Yeah, very much so. It's one of those things that engineers keep an eye on. They love it when it's dark or raining, because they can see the aerodynamics of the car and they can see the way the brakes are working as well. They will be out there with their cameras generally, but not so much for sim racing, but they do love that kind of thing.
fact that it's modelled. Like, you see, it's not something that has to be modelled. And they do a phenomenal job here at iRacing. You know, one of the benefits is a simulator. You get to have your own tweaks, get to have your own say on the way that you think things should handle. And it's an optional thing, and they've taken the step to add that in. And all power to them. Well, keep your eyes down through the field. Dyson's run a little bit away from Heimgartner. Gitarik is actually just outside of half a second off of the rear bumper of Andre Heimgartner. So this battle pack's starting to close up a little bit in behind our leaders. We'll have to keep an eye on that one as we've got 3 minutes left to go, which will be 2 laps, boys. 2 laps left to run in GT3, round number 1 of AUSPASS Season 5.
Connell just having a little look into turn 1 that last time around, just starting to make his presence known. So Connell is trying to put a bit of pressure on Cooper Webster at the moment. Webster absolutely keeping that car planted in the middle of the racetrack. So this battle at the front is not over yet. Look out for Jeff Connell to try and make a little bit of a move maybe. And he's definitely got some pace under braking, so Connell looks a little bit more confident on the braking, but Webster's just got a little bit better exits, so they're taking slightly different lines, slightly different ways to the Drakes, of course. They are slightly different cars with the Audi and the Lamborghini, but they are both racing absolutely to the maximum. Look at how close Connell is that time round. This is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, Connell is coming. Whether or not he can get the job done, well, he's got a lap and a half there to go. They'll turn off of Tower for the second to last time tonight. Run down this little middle of the lap stretch. Is a beautiful, beautiful track in the daylight, but even better at night. It'll be even better for Jeff Connell if he can get it done with 1 straight and 1 lap to go.
Jack Boyd getting past Paul Mansell there a little.
What a climb
earlier on. A really good recovery drive there, so good to see that going on, but really you've just got to keep an eye on the leaders at the moment because this battle is definitely not over, and you can tell Connell is looking just to possibly get it done. We're going to be coming into the final lap. That white flag will be unfurled, and we are going to be coming in very quickly to the end of this race.
I think that's the closest Jeff Connell's been for a number of laps. The gap to 0.25, so it's just fractionally under a quarter of a second, and now it dips to 1.5 tenths. It's 1 tenth. Connell will have a crack. He's to the inside of Webster. Not quite enough room there. Webster will get back to the gas on the exit. Nearly sends it into the dust at the end of turn number 1. Connell's not done yet. He'll have another crack at the hairpin. He'll have another crack down the back stretch into sunset for the final time. You can count on that. And Cooper Webster, you've got to get up 10 times earlier than that, Jeff Connell, to get that move done.
Yeah, Webster was waiting for Connell to try and make that move, just kept calm, serene around that corner, absolutely paid off.
Marching out to 4 tenths now, and I tell you what, with half a lap left to run, that will be more than enough for Cooper Webster, barring a massive error. And Webster will know that. He's got the pedigree. He knows. He's been in these sorts of situations before. He'll know how to manage it. Down to 4 tenths once more as that draft effect kicks in. So it got down to a quarter of a second once more. We have got 1 straight. Sorry, my apologies. A little bit earlier in the lap than that.
Got half a lap remaining.
There we go, half a lap remaining now. So it'll be the run down to Le Mans, right, left, right once more, and then the run to sunset. That's all Connell's got left to do. 4 tenths of a second. Error effect. He begins to close in the draft. This is where the Audi should be really strong, but the Lamborghini, it's got nearly the same characteristics. It's got better characteristics if you got Cooper Webster behind the wheel.
It's getting so close to the end here for Webster. Just a few more tantalising corners to go. Connell is just trying to press as hard as he can, but there's nothing he can do at the moment.
I tell you what, Heimgartner's in trouble. If you have a look at those pictures back further down the field, Gitarik is closing at a rate of knots. The gap is under a quarter of a second. It's over at the front of the field. Webster will clinch it, and it's going to be Connell in behind him. They'll weave down the front stretch for a little bit. And here comes the run off the final corner. Heimgartner's able to hold him off, and it will be Dennis Gitarik is on the brakes. He's letting a few cars go here. That's not a slowdown penalty. Surely that's not a slowdown penalty. That is absolutely absurd from Dennis Gitarik.
Yeah, perhaps there was something earlier on that we didn't see, but he has just let he's let John Merritt go back past him. So it looks like a redress. It was only one car at the end.
Yeah.
So potentially a redress there from Dennis Kotarek for an incident earlier on. I'm sure we'll find out about that during the week. But taking nothing away, Cooper Webster takes home the win.
Cars
and
coming through in the background as well. That is a sight to for sore eyes. I tell you what, Cooper Webster wins the round, but I think we as spectators win the week.
Guy Leach bring it home in number 1.
There's still racing going on out there. That's the thing. That's how many cars are out there. And of course, Sebring is a big old track. Andrew Hayes next to cross the line.
Cars continuing to funnel through Sunset for the final time. That's a Mclaren, I can tell, because that thing was spitting fire at me half a moment ago. A little bit of a bent wing files through the final corner for the final time, and that is just about all she wrote. 42nd through to 47th, the only cars remaining to finish off their final laps. Andrew Dyson will be absolutely wrapped with a third place finish in the first GT3 feature of the season. What a stunning drive there from him. Boys, I tell you what, we've got a whole host of drivers lining up to here to get interviewed, and I'm chomping at the bit because I want to hear what Jeff Connell has to say about that fight, because I think the direct conversation between both him and Cooper Webster, I think it'll be juicy.
Yeah, well, we do have Cooper Webster, Jeff Connell, Andrew Dyson coming your way. We also have, I believe, Guy Leach, Daniel Webster and Richard Brookfield as well. So we'll just wait until Jeff Connell gets in. There he is there. So let's grab our top 3 from the pro field into the booth now. And guys, take it away.
Well, we'll start off here by jumping through Daiso. I mean, pretty interesting race for you there, Daiso. Obviously, teammate Heimgartner's having a few connection issues there this evening. Was there any team orders there at play just saying, hey, buddy, you just got a few issues. You mind if you just peel out of the way? It's very disconcerting, because I feel like Jeff Connell and Cooper Webster would have loved to have been able to say that to him.
No, not really. I was hoping I could follow him around for a while, but yeah, he started blinking a little bit, and I mentioned it, but it wasn't an issue. And yeah, he had that slowdown, but from the rest of the race, we were still racing, for sure.
But what a cracker. I mean, you come to Sebring, you come here, the race finishes under lights. There is nothing better than turning laps at the tail end of the race around Sebring with those cat's eyes flaring back up at you. You can't see anything around Sebring, next to no track lights, but you know at all times where the edges of the track are, it's perfect for these sorts of conditions.
Yep, yeah, the cat's eyes kind of guide you around and help you pick your markers and things like that, especially when it's so dark. But it didn't help me a whole lot. I still nearly managed to fly off into the fence at one stage there, but it's a lot of fun in the dark around here, for sure.
Talk a little bit about the setup and how you guys all handle it. Obviously, 3 different manufacturers in both races on the podium, so that's exactly what the series admins were looking for. Somebody was saying to me earlier in the week that the Ferrari was a little bit tail happy, especially in the higher downforce sections.
Yeah, it did notice the Ferrari is a little loose, but you get used to it. It's the same with every car. You kind of get used to the way each car is, and yeah, I guess every car is going to have its strength at each track. Maybe not so much for the Ferrari this one, but it didn't go too bad still. But yeah, I'm sure it'll come into its own at another track somewhere and see how we go with it. And don't forget the balance of performance too. That's still got to come into play soon. But it worked out pretty well for this round, so it was cool.
Mate, that was an absolutely cracking race. Thank you for putting on your best show, because it's the whole lead pack covered by 7 seconds, and I tell you what, 3 separate battles going on all at once within that. That was an absolute cracker. You by the look of it, you absolutely enjoyed yourself from go to woe right there.
I did in the second race. I did a lot better, but in the first race, I had a little awkward moment with, I think it might have been Josh Fitt again. So I have to say I'm sorry to him again. I don't want to be making a habit of coming together with him. So that's yeah, sorry to Joshy, but no, I did have a lot of fun. It was a cool race with all the guys, and so thanks to everyone who raced tonight.
Righto, shuffling on throughout the order, we'll give Andre Heimgartner the chance to jump in here. It's, mate, whilst we got you, the internet connection made you look a little bit like Kangaroo Jack out there in the fence.
Yeah, I know, it was fairly interesting. Everyone was having a bit of a hard time, so that wasn't ideal, but Yeah, it happens sometimes, but yeah, good night, good fun. Got taken out in the first one, unfortunately, and then got obviously all right in that one. So still got a bit of pace to find to be with these fast guys, but yeah, it's really good fun.
The battle packs to finish that second race less than, what was it, 6.5 to 7 seconds off the lead at the end of the race, especially when you got to pick through the strategy. It's so much of a mind puzzle to really solve for all the drivers, because you come in early, you load all that fuel up, and then you're a little bit slower, but you get free track.
Yeah, for sure. It's for me, it wasn't too hard because I was sort of the slower in the front pack. So for me, it was just trying to either hold people up or hang on to whoever's in front. So, but yeah, mentally as well, with a race that long, it adds so many variabilities in it. The mistakes you make coming out of the pits, you've got to be on it again and bring your focus back. So for me, it's yeah, just good practice, and you know, for the next couple of weeks when we'll be in Sydney.
And you've got to add the bumps in on top of that. It's such a significant part about getting a good lap in at Sebring is knowing where to position the car to dodge those bumps. I mean, that's a nightmare scenario at the tail end when it's dips into the night.
Yeah, and your concentration laps and all that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah, a few times me and Andrew had a few moments, thought we were almost going to end up in the fence. But yeah, the Ferraris, I don't know what the other cars are like, but yeah, from about a third of the way through, you started to lose front tyre, started to just lean on the ABS too much, and it was real tricky to try and get them stopped and rotated at those slower speed corners.
Right, we'll circle back around to you guys for some sponsor thank yous just here in a few moments. Moving on up to Batman himself, king of the night. Well, not quite, is Jeff Connell, and one step shy of the win under lights for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, mate, I was just hanging on, so pretty happy with second, though, compared to how I was going earlier in the day. Yeah, had an awesome start in that final, and the good start probably made my own, made me have some good luck in the first corner because it got me on the inside and out of that crash, so that was good. And then, yeah, it was a good race. It was tough behind Andre with his car blinking around. It sort of bounced from side to side on the track. I was a bit worried I was going to hit him, so I was probably a bit conservative there, but didn't want to crash. And then, yeah, it was good at the end. Wasn't sure how I was on fuel after that pit stop, so I was probably a bit more tentative than I had to be. And then at the end, I was going for it, but Cooper was just a tiny bit too good tonight.
What? I mean, let's talk about the mental aspects of it, because it's such a unique aspect. The guys like Andre who do have the real life experience at such a high level of racing, this is something that's so new, is managing not only a digital car in a digital space with digital requirements, hardware failures. We've always likened them across to mechanical failures within the real world, but connection failures, that's a different bucket of bolts altogether. Yeah,
like it's hard enough just to do 40 minutes just driving around by yourself without spitting out is hard enough on here. So, yeah, like it doesn't stuff you up too much when a car's blinking in front of you, but you just second guess where it really is when you think about going down the inside. So, but yeah, that's life. That happens. So, yeah, it was a fun night. It was pretty awesome field tonight. Like one of the most competitive fields I've been in. So, yeah, pretty happy to get 2 podiums.
Tell you what, mate, in the back of my mind, the first words that clicked in and I heard was Jeff Connell rule. He's going to pit at the end of lap number 1. Didn't happen tonight. You went for the long run here this evening and yeah, paid out okay. What's the mental arithmetic been like trying to prepare for season number 5 with the changes?
With just one stop in that race and no fuel, no fuel limit, it simplified the strategy heaps. You just made one stop whenever you wanted to, and given that I had heaps of clear air at the end of that first lap, it was no-brainer just to keep going while I had clear air. So yeah, it wasn't too much strategy in it all, to be honest.
Well, mate, successful night number 2 follows up a very successful night number 1 of AUSPASS season number 5. We'll round back once again for you to say thank you to the series sponsors as the Batman car continues to run sponsorless. Remember, if you want to sponsor Jeff Connell, don't forget to reach out, get in contact. Jeff Connell's always looking for sponsors to be attached. And then finally, Carl, I tell you what, I'll let you have this one.
We'll jump up to the winner of, well, both races tonight. Congratulations, Cooper Webster. What a fantastic drive from yourself. That one, it did not look easy at all.
Yeah, thank you. No, tonight was definitely not easy. I jumped on tonight, just to have a run, and thanks to Sam for letting me be the wild card tonight. But I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the format and the strategy involved, and racing Jeff and Jack in the first race. Heaps of fun, and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, obviously, being a wildcard entry as well, it makes things a little bit different, and you sort of you might not have raced a lot of these guys before. Does that sort of change your sort of way you sort of come into the session? You sort of not knowing exactly what to expect, do you sort of feel a little bit different coming into a session like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit trickier than the series, say you'd run against the same people every time, because you don't really know what to expect from everyone and kind of everyone's pace. So you don't know if you're doing well or you're not doing so well, because you can't compare week to week with people. But it's a new challenge to race against new people. Some people have different skills and like different ways to drive, so it's always good to learn different things. But yeah, I was super matched with Jack in the first race and then Jeff in the second one. So yeah, it was heaps of fun.
Yeah, it's always good when you've got competition, and as you say, driving against different people, you sort of sometimes learn something new, which is always fun. Do you feel like you brought anything out of tonight, just getting a few different strategies, a few different corners out of tonight, or you going to keep to the same old racing line?
Yeah, I think it always changed depending on like what car, because there's different car options in this series. It's always a little bit different for each car, and the same with the conditions for each time I run at Sebring. It changes a little bit, and I haven't driven here for a while, so it did take me a little bit to kind of learn which bumps I could hit again. But there was plenty of racing tonight, so it gave me plenty of time to kind of get into a rhythm.
No, absolutely. We saw some great racing out there, and obviously having to start from the reverse grid sort of situation, starting down in P10, what were your expectations in that position sort of coming into the race?
Yeah, I knew it was a pretty long race, so there was no sort of need to send it really early. But I went into turn one, and there was cars far left of me and far right, and the gap kind of opened up in the middle, and I just tried to slip through with no damage, and it seemed to work. So I got very lucky in that sense. But the mindset was definitely to kind of relax and just get through the first couple of corners without any accidents and damage, and that was fine. And then I closed up to the Andre and Jeff at the halfway through that race, the start of that race, and then I pitted to see if I could do a bit of an undercut. But then when I came out, I made contact with someone before I met up with those two again before they came out the pits. So that kind of hurt my undercut, and then had to pass Jeff on the track instead of in the pit lane. But yeah, it was good fun.
Well, it was fantastic to watch. I mean, obviously, we don't want to see a little bit of contact and a little bit of accidents, but that made for a very exciting end to the race, that bit of passing on the track. Obviously, well done and congratulations on the win, and it's great to see you out here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll probably pass back through. We'll start with Cooper and go in reverse order this time, mate. Some opportunity to thank those sponsors that make this possible for you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks to Simrings and those guys for letting me join their Discord and make me feel welcome tonight, and give me a few tips to get up to speed. And also a thanks to Sam for letting me run tonight. So yeah, thanks.
Moving on now to Batman himself, Jeff Connell. Obviously, no sponsors to thank off the car, but I feel like I know what the next words are going to be.
Yeah, pretty much the same as normal. Thanks to Sam and Matt and everyone that runs this show. They put on an awesome series, 50-something cars tonight and then another 20 cars in the other group. So, they're obviously, it's one of the best series on iRacing. So thanks to those guys for running a good show, and all the series sponsors, Simrigs, Echuca Toyota, 93 PC. There's a few I'm missing, but and FGME Cast also for putting on an awesome broadcast.
And then finally, Dyso, your opportunity, mate. It's been a long time between drinks here in the podium room, but what's the sponsors you'd like to say shout out to?
Massive shout out to all the guys who put on the series. Sam, Matt, and all the other guys behind the scenes. Jeff, I think it might be Jeff who puts on all the practice sessions during the week. Sure, everyone really appreciates that. So thanks, man. Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Yeah, it's him, Jeffrey Lang. Thanks to all the guys who race every week and making it such a big deal with 50 cars. It's really awesome. Thanks to Sebring.com and all the gear they've hooked me up with. Obviously, you can pick that up all on their website. I think I've said that before, so make sure you check that out.
Absolutely, yeah. Good rundown there from all the drivers. Thanks very much for jumping in there, and Cooper, good luck in the remainder of the Porsche qualifiers as well, mate. We're all watching and supporting you as well. Richard Brookfield has patiently waited by. We've missed out on the remainder of the GT3M series. Richard, so you're here tonight representing on behalf of the entire podium, mate. A mixed race from the back there with all of the damage that happened at the start, but you managed to avoid it and come through with P3 at the end.
Yeah, it was just a case of just carefully picking your way through and a bit of absolute blind luck. But it all paid off, and a bit of close racing through the middle of it there, and really good finish there, sort of battling with Daniel Webster. Yeah,
of course, Daniel having a good run as well, just recovering. You managed to pluck your way through the field with your pit strategy there. Did you end up running towards the end of the tank?
Yes, I did, but then I completely stuffed up the pit box and overshot it. So, that ruined everything.
Well, we saw last season, obviously, how consistent you were and were always challenging. That's going to hold you in good stead for this season, we feel. How do you think it's going to go? Obviously, Sebring's a unique track in terms of that turn one entry, and we saw tonight in both races it brought drivers unstuck. That obviously impacted on the race throughout the field tonight, but we've got a different challenge next week where we go to Coda, which is a much more open circuit, but of course has its challenges. What are you looking forward to for next week?
I don't know. I haven't even checked out what was next on the calendar, so I'll see how I go.
Well, fair enough.
As usual, just try and keep it clean and hope for the best.
Keep it clean and make your way through to the end. Well, obviously, Richard, as well, an opportunity for you to say thank you to your sponsors and those that follow you.
Yeah, just like to thank all the ILEC guys. Sort of, they're a good little team to be running with, and have a good chat on the comms. Obviously, all the AUSPASS Pro guys putting the series up, and you guys as well doing all the commentary, doing a fantastic job.
Whilst we still got you here, Richard, have you got any liveries that you saw throughout the night that caught your attention? Because there's quite a few striking ones out there. Any you've spotted so far?
No, I haven't had a good chance to look through the field yet. So I might go have a look at the replay sort of later on and check it all out, see what catches my eye.
There you go. Always love to get ourselves a driver's eye view of the field so far this evening. Well, night number one of the GT3 segment, and what more could we have asked for, Carl and Stu?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Richard. Look, what a night. I am just still processing everything that happened across the last couple of hours of racing. It was full on. Obviously, great to see such a strong start to the GT segment of this series. I wasn't expecting anything other than that. Good choice for wildcard. Cooper coming in. Great to see Boyd and of course Jeff Connell competing with somebody who runs at such a high level as well. Just shows you the standard of the drivers in this series, which is fantastic. And good racing right throughout the field. So bodes well for next week when we head to Coda, a completely different challenge, I think, to just about any track we've ever run at AUSPASS. Probably going to be a difficult race, I think, with the number of cars that we're going to see, particularly through the slalom section of that track. But we've run at some tight, congested tracks before, and even some other ones like the Barber Motorsport Park that we saw last season probably presents a similar challenge to where we're heading next week. So very, very keen to see how we go with Pass 2, which ran really well tonight, and obviously with the main game with the boys in the Pro-Am.
Exactly. And one thing I would say is, what gets bigger than this field? Well, that's Texas, of course. So we're going to be heading there. We're also heading there tomorrow night, of course, with the Thunder Series. So you can catch that tomorrow night on FGM eCast. And, of course, we're back with the Cup with the fantastic Charlotte Roval circuit. But tonight, just fantastic to see so many cars out there. Obviously, those couple of little incidents early in the race up at the head of the field did make a big difference, but such a good driving standard throughout as well. There were so many close battles out there and so few accidents. That's what we love to see.
Yeah, and I tell you what, well, you thought they couldn't go 4 wide on the run down into Sebring's turn number 1, Gender Bien. One thing you can do is you can go anywhere up to 5 wide on the run to the hairpin at turn number 1 in Coda next week. So, boys, I tell you what, the guys wanted to get their elbows out. They wanted to see how many cars they could fit across the track. What do you reckon, 5, 6, 7? 7 on the run into turn number 1?
I don't think it matters, mate. I think they'll force as many as they can, as long as they can maintain control. I think, yeah, we may well see some sort of record number of cars spread across into turn 1, but it's an interesting beast, Coda. I can't say that it's one of my favourite tracks in the world to race, but that is generally conducive to good viewing from whoever's racing there. So, as always, Scotty and Carl, thanks very much for tonight. And we will be back tomorrow night on FGM eCast from 7:45 with the Thunder Series, FGM eCast, your E-Place for Pace. Thanks very much to everyone for tuning in, the sponsors and the series admin as well. We'll see you tomorrow night from 7:45. Thanks for tuning in.